Welcome to The Hidden Wisdom of the Tao, Ancient Secrets for Modern Living, an enlightening journey into the timeless teachings of the Tao presented by Mindful Literary. This audiobook unveils ancient Taoist wisdom and shows you how to apply these profound principles to navigate the complexities of modern life. Immerse yourself in the essence of Taoist philosophy, where you'll discover how to live in harmony with the natural flow of the universe. Learn the significance of balance, the power of mindfulness, and the art of effortless action. Through these teachings, you will find practical ways to achieve inner peace, nurture compassionate relationships, and connect deeply with the natural world. Join us as we explore the hidden wisdom of the Tao, providing you with valuable insights and tools to cultivate a harmonious and fulfilling life. Whether you're seeking inner tranquility, emotional resilience, or a deeper connection with the world around you, the ancient secrets of the Tao offer timeless guidance for your journey. Enjoy the transformative power of these teachings as you embark on a path to holistic well-being and spiritual growth. Chapter 1: The Way of the Tao. Discovering the Tao. My journey with the Tao began on an overcast afternoon as I wandered through a dense forest, guided by nothing but the instinctual need to find peace. My mind was a cacophony of modern anxieties, work deadlines that blurred into sleepless nights, the relentless pursuit of a sense of purpose that seemed always just out of reach, and a cloud of personal failures that hung over me like an unwelcome ghost. Seeking quiet solace, I found myself standing before an ancient, almost forgotten path. The path was strewn with autumn leaves, their vibrant colors muted under the gray sky. It was a picture of serene desolation, untouched by the conventions of time. Some deep, unexplainable pull urged me forward, and with tentative steps, I ventured into the unknown. The world outside faded as the forest closed in around me, forming a cocoon that muffled the noise of my turbulent mind. I came upon a small, pristine clearing. At its center stood an old monk, clad in simple robes that seemed almost a part of the environment. His appearance was unexpected, yet profoundly calming. Without a word, he beckoned me to sit with him. Curiosity overcame my hesitation, and I crossed the space between us, feeling an inexplicable sense of destiny in the encounter. As we sat in silence, the monk handed me a worn, handwritten scroll. The calligraphy told a story of the Tao, an ancient path of wisdom and harmony. Each word seemed to vibrate with the essence of centuries-long traditions, yet they spoke directly to the turmoil within me. The teachings of the Tao were paradoxical and poetic, advocating for balance, simplicity, and the flow of nature's rhythms. One particular passage caught my eye. The Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. It was as though the text were speaking directly to my desire for concrete answers, gently prodding me to relinquish my grip on the tangible and to embrace the flow of life. In that moment of quiet revelation, a profound sense of tranquility washed over me. I realized that the cornerstone of Taoism was the embrace of one's true nature and the relinquishment of the need to control every aspect of life's unfolding. Modern living had taught me otherwise. It had ingrained in me the belief that success required constant striving and ceaseless effort. Yet here, in the presence of this ancient wisdom, I felt the heavy armor of my misconceptions begin to fall away. The monk's presence, though silent, was a testament to the transformative power of the Tao. Without uttering a single word, he illustrated its principles by his mere existence, calm, patient, and in harmony with his surroundings. I left the forest that day changed, carrying with me the first seeds of a new understanding. The discovery of the Tao was only the beginning of a lifelong journey. The teachings I encountered that day began to seep into my daily life, subtly guiding my thoughts and actions. It was not an instant transformation, but rather a gradual awakening, a continuous process of aligning myself with the rhythms of nature and the wisdom of the ages. As I integrated these principles into the fabric of my existence, the noise of modern life slowly began to quiet. I found myself more present, more connected, and profoundly aware of the interwoven dance of all things. The Tao, I realized, was not a destination but a path, a graceful journey of becoming. Exploring Taoist philosophy. I remember the serene morning when I first encountered the essence of Taoism. As the golden light of dawn seeped into my study, I cracked open the pages of the ancient Tao Te Ching. The simple yet profound words flowed over me like a gentle stream, offering glimpses into a truth that felt both alien and intimately familiar. The Tao, or the Wei, is the foundational concept of Taoist thought. It is described as an eternal, ineffable flow that underlies all existence, a force beyond human comprehension, yet intimately intertwined with all of nature. As I continued reading, I came across the metaphor of the uncarved block, or pu. The Tao Te Ching spoke of maintaining one's original, unspoiled nature, remaining simple and authentic, like an unhewn piece of wood. My mind wandered to memories of my childhood, when life was uncomplicated and every experience felt pure. The simplicity of this concept was deceptive, for in adulthood, reclaiming that uncarved essence required profound clarity and a shedding of innumerable societal impositions. I felt a knot loosen within me, as if a layer of accumulated tension and pretense had been gently peeled away. Then there was the principle of Wu Wei, the art of effortless action. This wasn't mere passivity, but a heightened state of being where one acts in perfect harmony with the Tao, engendering results without force or struggle. I recalled a specific moment of profound insight when this concept crystallized in my mind. It happened during a hike in the mountains, when I lost my way amidst the dense forest. Instead of panic, I allowed myself to flow with the landscape, following the paths the forest seemed to guide me on. Miraculously, I found my way back as if nature itself had guided me. It wasn't about doing nothing. It was about doing just enough, aligning action with the natural order. Reflecting on these insights forever transformed my understanding of life. It was as though I had been treading water all my life, fighting against currents of my own making. Embracing Taoist principles taught me to float and let the current carry me. The spiritual journey was deeply personal, yet universally relatable, a testimony to the profound wisdom contained in simplicity and flow. From that day, every action, every breath, became an opportunity to practice these timeless principles. I wasn't chasing enlightenment, but was instead aligning myself with the essence of being, allowing the Tao to weave through the fabric of my life. This journey was far from over. Each step into the unknown was imbued with a newfound sense of peace and possibility, igniting a quiet yet powerful transformation within me, living in harmony with the Tao. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden hue across the rolling hills. I stood at the edge of my garden, inhaling the earthy scent of freshly turned soil and the crisp evening air. It was in these quiet moments that I felt most in tune with the Tao, the way of the universe. My breath synchronized with the rhythm of nature, creating a sense of unity that hummed through my very being. Growing up in a bustling city, my life had always revolved around deadlines, ceaseless noise, and perpetual movement. There was always somewhere to be, something to accomplish. It wasn't until I visited a remote village in the mountains that I first encountered the concept of the Tao. The villagers there moved with an unhurried grace, allowing the natural flow of life to guide their actions. It was a stark contrast to my hurried existence, and it planted a seed of curiosity within me. I began to explore the teachings of Lao Tzu, delving into the ancient text of the Tao Te Ching. The simplicity and profound wisdom of the verses resonated deeply with me. I learned that to live in harmony with the Tao, one must let go of forced effort and embrace the effortless flow of life. It was a radical shift in perspective, one that required unlearning years of ingrained habits and beliefs. As I applied these teachings to my daily life, I noticed a transformation. Conflicts that once seemed insurmountable dissolved as I approached them with a sense of calm detachment. Decisions that had plagued me with anxiety became clearer when I stopped overthinking and trusted my intuition. The Tao taught me to listen, not just to others, but to the subtle whispers of the universe. One evening, as I walked along a forest path, I encountered an old man sitting by a stream. He was humming a tune, his eyes twinkling with an inner peace that matched the gentle flow of the water. Curiosity led me to sit beside him, and we spoke of many things, life, nature, and the Tao. His words were simple, yet profound, echoing the lessons I had been learning. The water does not force its way, he said, gesturing to the stream. It flows naturally, finding its path with ease. We too must learn to flow like water, adapting to the contours of our lives without resistance. His message lingered with me for days. I began to notice how often I resisted the natural flow, trying to bend circumstances to my will. The more I practiced letting go, the more effortlessly life unfolded. It was as if I had tapped into a wellspring of wisdom that had always been there, just waiting to be accessed. As the seasons changed, so did I. My garden flourished, a testament to the harmony I had cultivated within myself. Each plant, each blossom, appeared more vibrant, as if mirroring the inner peace I had discovered. The Tao was not an abstract concept, but a living, breathing essence that permeated every aspect of my existence. In moments of stillness, I could feel the heartbeat of the universe, a gentle reminder that we are all interconnected. By aligning myself with the natural flow, I had unlocked a source of boundless energy and tranquility. Life no longer felt like a series of obstacles to overcome, but a harmonious journey to be embraced. As dusk turned to night, I gazed up at the stars, each one a distant yet familiar presence. The vastness of the cosmos mirrored the boundless potential within each of us. Living in harmony with the Tao had taught me that true strength lies in yielding, that true wisdom comes from listening. And in that harmony, I found a profound sense of belonging, a deep connection to the eternal dance of life. Chapter 2: Finding Balance. Yin and Yang. The rain had been relentless all day, a heavy curtain of water that seemed to erase the world beyond my window. I watched as each droplet collided with the ground, merging into tiny rivers that wove their way through the uneven pavement. It was mesmerizing, hypnotic, a reminder of the intricate dance between yin and yang, the ancient Chinese philosophy that speaks of the dynamic interplay of opposites. A memory surfaced, unbidden, of a journey I took to the mountains of Wudang. There, in the heart of nature, I experienced the essence of yin and yang firsthand. The path was steep and treacherous, lined with jagged rocks and bordered by thick foliage. As I ascended, the air grew thinner, cooler. The climb was arduous, each step a test of my resolve. But with every challenging moment came a fleeting joy, a breathtaking view, a sudden burst of birdsong, the yin to the yang of my struggle. On the third day, I met an old monk who seemed as ancient as the mountains themselves. His eyes twinkled with a wisdom that transcended time. He spoke of balance, of how every element in the universe holds within it the seed of its opposite. In quiet, he said, there is a whisper of thunder. In stillness, a hidden storm. Even in the deepest darkness, there is light waiting to be found. His words echoed in my mind long after our paths diverged. The climb down was no less challenging, but I carried his message with me, a lantern in the night. I began to notice the subtleties around me, the softness of moss underfoot, the way the sunlight pierced through the canopy, casting dappled shadows that danced on the forest floor. Each moment was a testament to the balance of opposites, a living example of yin and yang. Back in my daily life, the lesson of that journey stayed with me. I saw yin and yang in the mundane and the extraordinary. At work, stress and deadlines were balanced by moments of camaraderie and achievement. In relationships, love was sweetened by the occasional discord, each argument an opportunity to grow closer. Even within myself, I came to understand that my strengths were tempered by weaknesses, my confidence by doubt. It was a delicate dance, an ever-shifting equilibrium that made life rich and full. But it wasn't always easy to maintain that balance. There were times when the scales tipped too far one way, when darkness overshadowed the light, and chaos threatened to drown out peace. During those moments, I remembered the monk's words and sought to restore harmony, to find the hidden light in the abyss. It became a practice, a spiritual exercise in resilience and adaptability. The rain outside continued its symphony, a perfect metaphor for the balance of yin and yang. Each drop was a story, a confluence of opposing forces that created something beautiful and whole. Gazing out the window, I felt a profound connection to the world around me, to the eternal dance of opposites that shapes our existence. In that moment, I understood that the essence of yin and yang was not just an ancient philosophy, but a living, breathing truth, woven into the very fabric of our lives. As the daylight began to wane, a sense of calm washed over me. The rain had slowed, now a gentle patter, a soothing backdrop to the deepening twilight. I closed my eyes and breathed in the balance, embracing the intertwined forces that guide us all. The journey of yin and yang was not one of destination, but of constant motion, a never-ending cycle that enriched my life in ways both seen and unseen. And with that realization, I felt ready to face whatever came next, armed with the understanding that within every challenge lies the seed of its own resolution, just waiting to be discovered. Understanding the middle way. I remember vividly the day I first encountered the concept of the middle way. It was an unassuming afternoon, thick with the scent of blooming jasmine. I had been grappling with a dilemma that threatened to topple the fragile equilibrium of my life. Should I take the high-stress, lucrative job or settle for a modest position that promised peace of mind? My heart was a pendulum swinging wildly between extremes. A friend, sensing my inner turmoil, lent me a book on Taoist philosophy. Through its pages, I stumbled upon the principle of the middle way, an approach advocating for balance, urging one to avoid the far ends of any spectrum. The idea seemed deceptively simple, yet profoundly wise. It felt like an ancient key turning in a long, locked door within my mind. The more I pondered, the more it resonated. My life, up to that point, had been a series of jagged peaks and valleys. I had rushed headlong into passions, burning bright, but often finding myself in the charred remains of exhaustion and disillusionment. Conversely, withdrawing into safety nets left me feeling unchallenged and stagnant. The middle way proposed a golden mean, an equilibrium where I could thrive without tipping into chaos or complacency. Embracing this principle became a practice of mindfulness. Each choice, whether monumental or mundane, was weighed for its alignment with balance. I found myself less overwhelmed, more present. For instance, in relationships, I learned to navigate the fine line between affectionate engagement and healthy boundaries. It was a revelation to discover that true intimacy requires not enmeshment, but a respectful distance that allows each person to breathe. One personal anecdote still glimmers in my memory. I had always struggled with my diet, oscillating between rigorous restriction and indulgent binging. Applying the middle way, I began to listen to my body's natural inclinations, neither depriving it nor overloading it. Remarkably, I found my health improving, along with a profound sense of well-being. Food transformed from a source of conflict to one of nourishment and joy. The middle way has also permeated my approach to work. Once driven by ambition, I chased accolades and promotions, the stress mounting to a crescendo. Now, recognizing that excellence does not necessitate martyrdom, I set realistic goals, valuing progress over perfection. This balance brought not only professional success, but a deeper fulfillment, an ability to savor the journey rather than fixating solely on the destination. There was a pivotal moment when I truly grasped the essence of this philosophy. It was during a hike in the mountains, the kind of rugged terrain that mirrors life's unpredictable path. As I ascended, I encountered switchbacks, those gentle, winding trails designed to ease the climb. I realized then that the middle way is like a switchback, offering a gradual ascent towards our aspirations, without the debilitating strain of a straight climb. With this newfound wisdom, my life has become a symphony of harmonized notes, where each decision, informed by balance, contributes to a melody of peace and purpose. By avoiding the extremes and cherishing the nuances of the middle path, I've come to understand that true harmony resides not in perpetual highs, but in the serene, steady rhythm of balanced living. Yet, the middle way is not without its challenges. Life's inherent complexities often present situations where discernment is tested. But even in these moments, I find solace in knowing that balance is an ongoing journey, an evolving practice rather than a finite destination. This acceptance frees me from the paralyzing fear of missteps, allowing grace and growth to guide my path. Embracing the flow of life. There's an almost imperceptible moment when you decide to stop fighting the current, to let go of the oars and allow the river to carry you wherever it may lead. I used to believe that life was a series of battles meant to be fought, an endless struggle for control, a need to chart every course and plan every outcome. But the truth I discovered was much more profound and liberating. One vivid memory comes to mind, a transformative afternoon when the act of surrender became a revelation. It was on a hiking trail, one I had frequently treaded with a disciplined itinerary, keeping to the path as though my life depended on it. The trail was always a challenge, the summit a symbol of my tenacity. That particular day, heavy clouds hung low, an omen of rain, and I pushed on, refusing to turn back. Just as I neared the overlook, the sky opened up, drenching me to the bone. Frustrated, I stopped in my tracks, unable to see the top through the downpour. In that moment of surrender, a spell was broken. I closed my eyes and stood still, feeling the rain wash over me. Suddenly, the forest came alive with an orchestra of raindrops, and for the first time, I heard the heartbeat of nature itself. There was peace where there had been none before. I realized then that peace wasn't something to be chased or conquered, it was something to be invited in through acceptance. I began to make space for uncertainty, for the unknown variables of life that I once deemed unacceptable. I remember another day, years later, when my professional life took an unexpected turn. A project I had meticulously planned fell apart, and I was at a crossroads, unsure of which direction to take. In the past, I would have scrambled, insisting on salvaging my designs. Instead, I decided to step back and let the pieces fall where they may. To my surprise, this act of letting go created a vacuum that was soon filled with new opportunities, ones I hadn't even considered possible. The universe, it seemed, had a way of reorganizing itself, and often in a manner far better than my carefully laid plans. There's a gentle art to letting go, a subtle courage required to trust the process of life. This doesn't mean giving up. Rather, it's about aligning oneself with the natural ebb and flow of existence. It's about finding stillness amid chaos and discovering that this stillness itself is a form of profound action. On a quiet evening not long ago, as the world outside my window buzzed with its usual frenzy, I took a deep breath and thought about all the serendipitous turns my life had taken, simply because I allowed it. Therein lay the paradox. By releasing my need to control every moment, I had found a deeper connection to the very essence of life itself. And with that connection came an unconditional peace, a fulfillment that seemed to whisper, "Trust, and all will be well." Chapter 3. Inner Peace and Contentment. Quieting the Mind. My path to inner peace wasn't a straight line. Rather, it twisted and turned like an uncharted river, filled with both calm shores and turbulent rapids. I always knew there was more to life than the relentless noise that consumed my thoughts. It was this incessant chatter, the mind's ceaseless commentary, that kept me from experiencing true serenity. There was a time when I almost gave up, believing the cacophony within was an inseparable part of my being. But, as the saying goes, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. The first technique I encountered was deceptively simple: breathing. Not the shallow, automatic breath we take for granted, but a conscious, deep inhalation followed by a measured exhalation. I remember sitting in a quiet room, focusing all my energy on the rhythmic rise and fall of my chest. In those moments, the world outside dimmed, and I took my first step into a tranquil sanctuary within. Breathing became my anchor in stormy seas, a constant reminder that solace was always a breath away. Gradually, I embraced mindfulness. This wasn't just about being present, but truly engaging with the now. I learned to savor my morning tea, feeling the warmth of the cup against my hands, inhaling the fragrant steam, and tasting each sip as if it were a rare elixir. Everyday tasks, previously mundane, transformed into rituals of awareness. Washing dishes became a meditation, each clink and splash resonating with me on a deeper level. The more I rooted myself in the present, the less power the past and future held over my peace of mind. However, the mind is a master of distraction. It clings to thoughts, throwing them like pebbles into a serene pond, causing ripples of anxiety and doubt. To combat this, I found solace in nature. Long walks through forests, the sound of leaves crunching beneath my feet, birds singing overhead, and the earthy scent of moss and soil grounded me. Nature's timeless rhythm lulled my restless mind into stillness. I found that just as the forest needed a balance of chaos and order to thrive, so too did my mind find harmony in this balance. As I continued to explore, I ventured into the realm of meditation. Sitting in silence, I initially felt overwhelmed by my racing thoughts. But with patience and practice, I discovered a profound quietude, a place untouched by external turmoil. My mind, once a frantic sea, began to mirror a placid lake. In this reflective state, clarity emerged. Decisions, once fraught with hesitation, became clear and purposeful. The more I meditated, the more I disentangled myself from the need to incessantly analyze and judge. The journey to quiet the mind is ongoing, a lifelong process of peeling back the layers of mental clutter and rediscovering the essence of inner peace. It's astonishing how the simple act of quieting the mind can transform one's life. It fosters not only inner peace, but also a heightened sense of clarity, revealing answers and insights that were previously obscured by noise. In these moments of serenity, I discovered my true self, unburdened by the incessant chatter. The tranquility I found within was not a destination, but a continuous journey, one that I welcome with open arms. Cultivating mindfulness. In the hushed hours of dawn, when the world begins to stir, I've taken to practicing mindfulness. The simplicity of focusing on my breath, letting thoughts drift without attachment, has been a quiet revolution. It started with an intention, just 5 minutes of mindful breathing each morning. But this small act has grown, weaving itself into the fabric of my days. As I sit in my favorite corner of the living room, bathed in the gentle light of sunrise, I tune into the present moment. The hum of the refrigerator, the distant chirping of birds, and the subtle sensations in my body. These moments, when I fully immerse myself in the now, have become the cornerstone of my mindfulness practice. The transformative effects of mindfulness have unfolded gradually but profoundly. At first, it was the simple joy of noticing, truly noticing, the world around me. I'd walk down the street and marvel at the intricate patterns of leaves fluttering in the breeze, or feel the warmth of the sun on my skin as if for the first time. My senses, often dulled by the rush of daily life, seemed to awaken to the beauty and richness of each instant. More than just enhancing my perception, mindfulness has reshaped my interactions. Conversations with friends and family have taken on new depth and presence. I listen, really listen, allowing their words to sink in without the distraction of my internal chatter. This attentive presence has not only enriched my relationships, but has brought a sense of calm and connection that was previously elusive. And in moments of stress or anxiety, mindfulness has been a grounding force. By returning to my breath, I find an anchor amidst the chaos. It's like stepping out of a storm into a place of quiet stillness. This practice has taught me to approach life's challenges with a sense of equanimity, to respond rather than react. The effects ripple out beyond the obvious moments of mindfulness. Even in mundane tasks, washing dishes, folding laundry, I find a meditative quality. These everyday actions, once mundane, are infused with a sense of purpose and clarity. The act of being present, of giving my full attention to each task, has become a practice in itself. As I navigate my day, mindfulness serves as a constant companion, gently coaxing me back to the present whenever my mind begins to wander. Yet the journey of cultivating mindfulness is ongoing. It is not a destination, but a continuous practice of returning to the now. There are days when it comes easily, and others where distractions are relentless. But with each breath, each moment of awareness, I am reminded of the profound simplicity of simply being. As the sun rises higher, its light filling the room with warmth, I feel a deep sense of gratitude for this practice. Mindfulness has become a cornerstone of my well-being, a source of inner peace and connection. It's a practice I wholeheartedly embrace, not just for the moments of tranquility it brings, but for the rich, textured experience of life it unveils. And with every mindful breath, I step more fully into the present, cultivating a life of presence, purpose, and profound simplicity. Finding joy in simplicity. In the hush of early morning, as the first rays of sunlight filter through the leaves, I find myself cradling a steaming cup of tea, watching the world awaken. The simplicity of this moment, the aroma of the tea mingling with the crisp air, brings a deep sense of peace and contentment. These quiet moments, often overlooked in the hustle and bustle of daily life, hold a profound beauty that speaks directly to my soul. As I reflect on my journey, I realize that my most treasured memories are not tied to grand events or extravagant possessions, but to the simple, often mundane elements of life. The laughter shared with a friend over a hearty meal, the feel of grass beneath my feet, the serene pleasure of a good book, these are the threads that weave the fabric of my joy. In these moments, stripped of complexity and pretense, I truly connect with my inner self and the world around me. Life, in its essence, is a composition of these small acts of love and simplicity. When I embrace them, I am filled with an inexplicable lightness. It's as if the weight of modern life's constant demands lifts, leaving space for authentic happiness. The simple act of tending to a garden, watching seeds grow into vibrant flowers, brings a sense of accomplishment and a reminder of the cycles and rhythm of nature, mirroring the cycles within us. The beauty of simplicity lies not just in the absence of clutter, but in the presence of clarity and meaning. With fewer distractions, I find joy in my own company, revel in spontaneous moments, and appreciate the interconnectedness of all things. This shift towards simplicity has transformed my life into a canvas where every small stroke adds to the masterpiece, where each fleeting moment is savored and each simple joy celebrated. Yet, simplicity is not always easy to embrace. It requires conscious effort to peel away the layers of unnecessary complexity and to resist the lure of instant gratification. But the rewards are immeasurable. As I sit here, the sun climbing steadily in the sky, I am reminded that true fulfillment comes not from abundance, but from appreciating the beauty in what we already have. There is an awe-inspiring magic in simplicity, a spiritual connection that transcends the material. It's a gentle reminder that life at its core is enough, as it is, unembellished and pure. And in that recognition, I find my greatest joy. Chapter 4. Living in the Present Moment, Letting Go of the Past. There I was, sitting by the window with the soft glow of the afternoon sun warming my face. It was a day like any other, but within me, a storm brewed. The past, like an uninvited guest, loomed over me with its colossal weight. Memories of betrayal, loss, and heartbreak clouded my mind. I knew I could no longer bear the chains of what once was. It was time to let go. In the past, I had clung to every wrong done to me as if they were precious relics. I believed that by holding on to the pain, I could somehow prevent it from happening again. But as I sat there, an epiphany enveloped me. These burdens were not protecting me, they were suffocating me. The grudges I held were walls, keeping out not just the hurt, but also the healing and the joy. Forgiveness, a distant concept, suddenly became a tangible act I could no longer ignore. I began with small steps, recalling instances where I had been wronged or where I had wronged others. With each memory, I whispered a quiet, "I forgive you." It wasn't immediate magic, no sudden washing away of pain, but like drops of water eroding a rock, it began its subtle work. I recalled the betrayal of a close friend. For years, I had replayed the moment in my head, the anger surging like a live wire within me. This day, I chose to forgive. Not for them, but for me. The act felt foreign, like dancing to a song I didn't yet know the steps to, but it brought the faintest sense of release. It was the first taste of freedom. Slowly, I started to see each person who had wronged me not as perpetrators of pain, but as fellow flawed humans. They had their own battles, their own scars. This simple shift in perspective was the key. It became evident that forgiveness was not just about freeing them from my anger, but also freeing myself from the chains of the past. The deep-seated resentments I held against my family were the hardest to confront. Every unresolved argument, every harsh word seemed to echo in my mind. One by one, I laid these ghosts to rest. In forgiving my father for his stern ways and my mother for her unfulfilled promises, I felt a space within myself opening up, a space for the present and the possibilities it held. Something remarkable happened as I let go of past burdens. My heart, once bogged down by grief and anger, began to feel lighter. There was room now for gratitude, for savoring simple moments, for connections untainted by old wounds. Emotional liberation transformed into spiritual awakening. I began to see the divine in the everyday, realizing that holding on to pain was like trying to catch the wind. It only left me grasping at emptiness. Embracing the present became a daily practice. Each morning as I meditated, I envisioned the past dissolving like mist in the dawn's light. With each exhalation, I released remnants of old hurts. With each inhalation, I welcomed the new day, untethered and unburdened. The change wasn't just within, it was in my interactions, my relationships, my sense of being. Every breath became an act of liberation. As the twilight deepened outside my window, a sense of peace settled over me. I no longer needed to hold on to the past to define who I was. In letting go, I had found myself again. The journey to release was not easy, but it was the most rewarding path I had ever taken. The present was now my sanctuary, filled with endless possibilities. Each day, a gift waiting to be unwrapped, embracing the here and now. The crisp air filled my lungs as I stepped outside, my senses alive to the symphony of early morning sounds. Birds greeted the dawn with a chorus of serenades, each note vibrant and true. I paused, feeling the coolness of the dew beneath my feet, and took a slow, deliberate breath. For once, I did not allow my mind to wander to the unfinished tasks awaiting me or the echoes of yesterday's regrets. I had spent so much of my life chasing the shadows of the past, replaying memories that could not be altered. It was as if my mind was caught in a relentless loop, dragging me away from the present. But today, I resolved to anchor myself in the here and now. Mindfulness, I discovered, was not a distant, unattainable goal, but a practice as simple as breathing. As I continued walking, I made a conscious effort to notice the world around me, the rustling leaves, the rhythmic crunch of gravel beneath my shoes, the warmth of the rising sun casting golden hues across the landscape. Each step was a reminder that life was unfolding in this very moment, not in the pages of the past or the uncertainty of the future. Mindfulness, I realized, needed to be woven into the fabric of my everyday life. One transformative practice I adopted was mindful eating. Instead of rushing through meals while staring at a screen, I began to savor each bite. The explosion of flavors, the textures, the aromas, all brought me back to the present, grounding me in the sensory experience. Another powerful practice was mindful listening. During conversations, I trained myself to be fully present, giving the person my undivided attention. Rather than formulating responses while they spoke, I focused on their words, their emotions, and the subtle nuances in their voice. This not only deepened my connections, but also enriched my understanding of others. Engaging fully in each moment required a shift in mindset, a gentle yet firm redirection of my thoughts. I told myself that it was okay to let go of what was and what might be, to embrace the fluidity of now. I practiced gratitude, reminding myself that each moment was a gift, a delicate thread in the tapestry of my existence. As the day wore on, challenges arose, tempting me to revert to old habits. But each time my mind drifted, I brought it back gently, like a parent guiding a child. I focused on my breath, the subtle rise and fall of my chest, the rhythm of my heartbeat, anchors that steadied me in the ever-moving currents of life. With each passing moment, I felt a profound sense of peace and clarity envelop me. I began to see the beauty in the mundane, the extraordinary in the ordinary. The act of being fully present transformed my world, revealing layers of richness and depth I had previously overlooked. As night fell and I lay beneath a canopy of stars, I felt an overwhelming sense of connection, to myself, to others, to the universe. The past no longer held me captive, nor did the future loom with uncertainty. I was here, I was now, and that, I realized, was more than enough. Appreciating the beauty of each moment. The early morning light bathed my room in a soft, golden glow that seemed to promise a day full of endless possibilities. I relished the warmth of my bed for a few precious moments before stirring. Slowly pulling the curtains apart, I took a deep breath, allowing the crisp morning air to fill my lungs. It was a sacred ritual, one that I had learned to cherish. Each breath, each heartbeat, felt like a gift, an affirmation of life itself. As I made my way to the kitchen, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee wafted through the air, filling me with an immediate sense of joy. There was a certain magic in those simple, everyday experiences. I had spent years rushing through life, chasing after goals and missing out on the little things that made each day unique. But now, I had committed myself to finding beauty in the mundane, to appreciating the presence of each fleeting moment. I sat by the window, savoring the bitter yet comforting taste of my morning brew. Outside, the world was waking up slowly. Birds chirped in harmonious melody, their songs blending with the gentle rustle of leaves. The way the sunlight danced through the trees, casting intricate patterns on the ground, captivated me. It was a visual symphony, a masterpiece that no artist could ever fully capture. The day unfolded with its usual rhythm, punctuated by moments of silence and bursts of activity. I found myself engaged in tasks I had once deemed mundane, folding laundry, watering plants, washing dishes. Each became an act of meditation, a practice in mindfulness. With every fold, every drop, and every scrub, I felt a deeper connection to the world around me. It wasn't so much about the activity itself, but the presence and intent I brought to it. As the afternoon sun began to wane, I ventured outside, drawn to the vibrant hues of the setting sun. The sky was a canvas awash with oranges, pinks, and purples, a sight so breathtaking that it almost seemed otherworldly. Standing there, bathed in the ethereal light, I felt an immense gratitude wash over me. It was as if every moment of my life had led me to this very point, teaching me to appreciate the beauty inherent in each breath, each heartbeat. The evening came, shrouded in a serene, soft darkness. Under a blanket of stars, I reflected on the richness of a day spent appreciating life's simple pleasures. There was a tangible sense of contentment, a spiritual alignment that resonated deeply within me. As I finally climbed into bed, I closed my eyes with a heartfelt sense of gratitude. Every moment, no matter how ordinary, had been a testament to the beauty of existence, a gentle reminder that life's true richness lies in its impeccably crafted details. As sleep began to overtake me, a quiet yet profound realization began to settle in my heart. Perhaps appreciating the beauty of each moment wasn't just an act of mindfulness, it was an act of love, a celebration of life itself, in all its magnificent, fleeting splendor. Chapter 5. The Art of Wu Wei. Effortless Action. There are moments in life when everything clicks into place like the final puzzle piece revealing a whole picture. One such moment was when I first learned about the concept of Wu Wei, often translated as effortless action or non-doing. At first, the idea seemed paradoxical. How could inaction lead to success? Yet, as I dove deeper into its philosophy, I began to understand its profound truth. I recall a summer evening in my youth, sitting by the river with an old friend, Clara. She was always rushing, always planning, always trying to force life to bend to her will. In contrast, I had just begun to experiment with going with the flow, inspired by ancient teachings of Taoism. As we sat there, she ranted about her latest failed project, her voice tinged with frustration and exhaustion. I listened, sensing that her own relentless effort was what held her back. "Have you ever tried just letting things happen?" I asked tentatively, not wanting to sound condescending. She gave me a puzzled look, as if I'd suggested something preposterous. It was then I shared the story of my recent success, a moment when effortless action bore fruit more splendid than any forced endeavor could. I had been working on a complex problem at my job, one that seemed insurmountable. After days of futile efforts, I decided to take a step back. Instead of grinding myself into exhaustion, I chose to allow my intuition to guide me. I spent that weekend walking in the park, reading poetry, and engaging in seemingly unrelated activities. To my astonishment, the solution came to me in a moment of quiet reflection as I watched the wind play with the leaves. It was as if the answer had always been there, waiting for me to pause and see it. Clara listened intently, her expression softening. "So you're saying, by not trying so hard, you actually did better?" she mused. "Exactly," I replied. "It's about finding harmony with the natural flow of things, rather than fighting against them." Weeks later, Clara called me, her voice brimming with excitement. She had taken my advice to heart and approached her projects with a new mindset. By allowing herself breaks and trusting her instincts, she found that her work improved and her stress levels decreased. It was a small victory, but a meaningful one. She had tasted the sweetness of Wu Wei. These lessons also reminded me of a larger universal truth. In a world that often equates effort with worth, the notion of effortless action can seem foreign, even lazy. Yet, when we observe nature, we see this principle at work everywhere. Rivers carve canyons, not by force, but by persistence and flow. Trees grow towards the sun, not with haste, but with steady, deliberate progress. As I navigate my own journey, I strive to integrate Wu Wei into more areas of my life. Not every challenge requires brute force. Sometimes, the most powerful action is to surrender and align oneself with the currents of life's river. The art of effortless action, I have learned, is not about doing nothing, but about doing with a sense of ease and alignment. In this practice, there is profound peace and often surprising success. As I closed my conversation with Clara that day by the river, I realized that my sharing was not just for her benefit, it was a reminder to myself as well. In teaching others, we often teach ourselves, reinforcing the lessons our souls need most. The practice of Wu Wei is a lifelong journey, a dance of balance between action and rest, effort and ease. It's a dance I aspire to perfect, knowing that with each step, I move closer to a life of harmony and effortless success, flowing with the natural order. There comes a point in our lives when we begin to notice the invisible threads that weave through our days, the subtle patterns aligning our existence with the dance of the cosmos. My journey into this recognition began during a spring morning at the first light, when the world seemed to breathe in perfect cadence with me. It was in the early dawn, the hour of soft light and sacred silence. As the sun began to rise, I felt an urging to match my breath with the rhythm of the waking world. I closed my eyes and tuned my senses to the birds' songs, the gentle rustling of leaves, and the distant hum of life coming to its daily bloom. In that fragile instance, aligning with the natural order became more than just a concept. It transformed into a living, breathing experience. The very next day, I decided to carry this newfound sense of rhythm into my daily tasks. Chores that once felt laborious turned into seamless parts of the day. Washing dishes became a meditative act, each plate a cycle completed. Writing, once stifled by mental blocks, flowed as smoothly as the river nearby, whose melody often accompanied my thoughts. Aligning my actions with natural cycles seemed not only to reduce stress, but also enhanced my creativity and productivity. Curiously enough, this alignment revealed itself most profoundly when tending my garden. Unlike before, where I would force the soil to yield before it was ready, I began to observe the subtle hints given by the earth itself. By planting seeds in harmony with the lunar phases and seasonal shifts, my garden flourished. Plants grew with a vibrancy I had never before witnessed, their colors more vivid, their fruits more abundant. Through these moments, the language of nature spoke clearer. It told me there was a time for everything, a time to push and a time to yield. I learned to set intentions at the new moon and to harvest my dreams under a full moon. This alignment with celestial rhythms was not merely a following of tradition, but a deep, intuitive conversation with the universe. As the chapters of my life unfolded with this new awareness, I noticed that relationships too benefited from this natural alignment. By attuning conversations and decisions to the waxing and waning of emotional tides, a harmony emerged that nurtured understanding and mutual respect. Conflicts resolved themselves more organically, and bonds deepened in ways that felt profoundly rooted in something beyond our immediate grasp. This alignment has become my guidepost, a compass that directs me not through rigid structure, but through a fluid, ever-changing dance with the world around me. Embracing the natural order has given me a deeper sense of ease, a joy that comes not from external achievements, but from being in sync with the very essence of life itself. Understanding that we are part of a greater whole, I invite you to listen intently to the wisdom whispered through the winds, to watch the cycles of the moon, and to feel the pulse of life in the earth beneath your feet. Flow with these rhythms, and you may find, as I have, a sense of peace and accomplishment that harmonizes with the natural world and the universe within us all. Embracing effortlessness in daily life. I've always been a seeker and a thinker. The constant rush, the relentless striving, it wore heavy on me. I sought serenity in the timeless teachings of Wu Wei, the art of effortless action. My journey into this ancient wisdom was both gradual and transformative, like a river gently carving a new path through a landscape. The first day I decided to truly integrate Wu Wei into my life, I chose to apply it to the simplest of tasks, making my morning coffee. Instead of rushing through my routine, I allowed myself to be fully present. I watched the water boil, appreciated the rich aroma of freshly ground beans, and gently poured the hot water over them. The process felt like a dance, rhythmically flowing without force. Surprisingly, my coffee tasted better than ever, that subtle sweetness, a hint of earthiness. It was an experience rather than a chore. Embracing effortlessness had a ripple effect throughout my daily life. Professional tasks that once felt burdensome became smoother, almost enjoyable. I adopted a more fluid approach in meetings, allowing conversations to flow naturally instead of forcing my agenda. I listened more intently, responded thoughtfully, and found synergy in unexpected places. By letting go of the need to control every outcome, I discovered that solutions often emerged organically, like flowers blooming without being told when or how. The most profound change, however, came in my relationships. Conversations with loved ones were no longer a mental checklist of points to cover or problems to solve. They became genuine exchanges of presence and affection. I remember one evening, sitting on the porch with my grandmother. We didn't speak much, just shared a comfortable silence while watching the sun dip below the horizon. That moment, in its simplicity, held more connection and meaning than any wordy conversation we'd had before. Living effortlessly doesn't mean living without intention. It's about aligning with the natural flow of life, trusting in its rhythm, and knowing when to act and when to let things be. It's like being a skilled navigator, sensitive to the winds and currents, adjusting the sails but never battling the sea. Each day brings new challenges. Yet with this approach, they feel less like obstacles and more like opportunities for graceful movement. Practicing Wu Wei has not only brought serenity into my own life, but has also inspired those around me. Friends and family began noticing the change in me. They asked about my calm demeanor, my seemingly newfound ease. And as I shared my experiences, they too started to experiment with effortless action. Over time, we collectively crafted a ripple of change, an expanding wave of tranquility and purposeful living. The true beauty of Wu Wei lies in its ability to reconnect us with the essence of being human, living in harmony with our inner and outer worlds. It's a subtle yet profound art, one that continues to shape my days, inviting joy and productivity into even the most mundane tasks. And as I continue to embrace this effortless approach, I realize that the journey is as boundless as a river, constantly flowing, forever evolving. Chapter 6: The Power of Compassion. Cultivating Loving Kindness. From a young age, I was familiar with the language of love, or at least I thought I was. My family, a circle of warmth during my innocent years, seemed to navigate life with compassion and understanding. Yet as I ventured out into the world, I discovered that love wasn't a universal given. Sometimes it had to be found, nurtured, and even defended. It was during a particularly challenging period in my life that I first encountered the practice of cultivating loving kindness. A friend had noticed the turmoil beneath my composed exterior and recommended a meditation retreat. Skeptical, but needing a change, I agreed to go. Walking into the serene retreat center with its air thick with incense and the sound of wind chimes, I had no idea that my perception of love was about to transform. On the first day, our teacher talked about metta, a Pali word meaning benevolence, loving kindness, friendliness, and amity. She explained that loving kindness wasn't merely an emotion to be felt toward others, but also toward ourselves. As she instructed us to close our eyes and repeat phrases like, "May I be happy," "May I be healthy," I felt a strange resistance within me. Wishing happiness upon myself felt unnatural, almost indulgent. Nevertheless, I continued the practice day after day, slowly beginning to unravel the tight knots of self-criticism I hadn't realized were there. The more I sent these compassionate phrases to myself, the more I started to believe in them. Surprisingly, my outlook on the world around me began to shift as well. I found myself looking at strangers with a sense of shared humanity. People I'd previously ignored now seemed like fellow travelers on this journey, each carrying their own burdens. One rainy afternoon, as I sat by the window watching the droplets race down, I had a moment of clarity. Loving kindness wasn't a passive state. It was an active choice, a decision to see the inherent goodness in others and myself, despite the imperfections. This insight propelled me from a vague feeling of acceptance to a powerful wave of connection to everyone around me. Returning from the retreat, I carried this newfound awareness back into my daily life. Admittedly, it wasn't always easy. There were moments when anger bubbled up or frustration clouded my vision. But now I had a tool to navigate these emotions. Before reacting, I would pause and silently offer loving kindness. May you be safe. May you be happy. It wasn't a magic cure, but it shifted something fundamental within me, softening my reactions and deepening my empathy. Ironically, the tangible proof of this practice came in the form of a confrontation. At work, I had always had a contentious relationship with a particular colleague. Our clashes were frequent and intense. After embracing loving kindness, I started to see him differently. I began to understand that his aggression was likely a mask for deep-seated insecurity. One day, during a heated meeting, I paused, took a deep breath, and internally wished him well. To my surprise, the tension in the room seemed to dissipate. We were able to have a real conversation for the first time, finally reaching a mutual understanding. It was a small victory but felt monumental, proving to me that the practice of loving kindness had practical, real-world applications. This journey of cultivating loving kindness has been one of the most profound of my life. It taught me that love is not just something that happens, it is something we actively create. By committing to seeing and nurturing the good in ourselves and others, we can transform our relationships and our world. Even when the practice feels challenging, the rewards are immeasurable. And so I continue this practice, day by day, moment by moment. With each breath, I choose to extend loving kindness to myself and others, knowing that this simple yet profound act can ripple out, touching lives in ways I might never fully comprehend. And in this choice, I find a deep, unshakable peace. Practicing empathy. There's a delicate, almost ethereal thread that connects us all. A silken strand spun from our deepest emotions and shared experiences. This thread is empathy, a practice that once embraced can transform the mundane into the extraordinary. Reflecting on my own life, I realize how profoundly empathy has enriched my connections and broadened my understanding of the human experience. One evening, I found myself sitting next to a man on a park bench. His eyes were pools of sorrow, his posture defeated. Without even knowing his name, I felt an overwhelming compulsion to reach out to him, to acknowledge his silent suffering. "Are you all right?" I asked softly. His story tumbled out in broken fragments: the loss of his job, the weight of expectations, the loneliness. In that moment, I wasn't just a passive listener. I absorbed his emotions like a sponge, feeling the tightness in my chest mirror his despair. I offered words of comfort, a blend of my own experiences and an intuitive understanding of his pain. Though I couldn't solve his problems, the simple act of listening and sharing his burden seemed to lift a shadow from his soul. The connection we forged, however fleeting, was a testament to empathy's power to heal. Another memory surfaces, of a woman I met during a community service event. She was shy, almost invisible among the bustling crowd, yet her eyes held a story waiting to be told. We worked side by side, and with a gentle nudge, I encouraged her to share her journey. She spoke of her struggle with mental health, of feeling misunderstood and isolated. As she spoke, I felt a resonance deep within me, a reflection of my own past battles with anxiety. Our shared vulnerability bridged the distance between us. In that space of mutual understanding, we both found comfort and strength. It was as if our individual pains intertwined, creating a tapestry of resilience. Empathy, in this case, became a conduit for genuine human connection, dissolving barriers and fostering acceptance. These experiences have taught me that empathy is not just about understanding others, it's about allowing ourselves to be transformed by that understanding. Each empathetic encounter has left an indelible mark on my spirit, enriching my perception of humanity's collective journey. As I continue to practice empathy, I discover deeper layers of my own identity, shaped by the myriad lives I touch and am touched by. And so, I walk through life with a renewed appreciation for the silent, invisible threads that bind us. Practicing empathy is more than a conscious effort. It's a spiritual journey that elevates our existence and draws us closer to the divine essence of being human. As I engage with the world around me, I am continually reminded that in every encounter, in every shared moment of joy or sorrow, empathy is the key that unlocks the true essence of our connectedness. Embracing empathy has transformed my view of the world, painting it in hues of compassion and understanding. Yet, I sense there's still more to learn, more layers to uncover in this ever-evolving journey. As I move forward, I remain open to the boundless lessons empathy offers, eager to deepen my connections and enrich my experiences with every step. The healing nature of compassion. It was a chilly evening when I first realized the profound impact of compassion. The clock ticked loudly in my tiny apartment, amplifying the silence that seemed to dominate every corner of my life. That day, I had come home feeling utterly defeated. Another disagreement with Lisa, my oldest friend. Our arguments had become a frequent occurrence, each one driving a wedge further between us. I sat by the window, looking out into the dimming light, feeling the ache of our fractured relationship. The first story that highlights the healing power of compassion started with my neighbor, Mrs. Patel, an elderly woman who lived alone. She had a serene presence and a warm smile that seemed to hold hidden depths of wisdom. One winter morning, I saw her struggling with her groceries, her frail hands barely able to manage the weight. Without a second thought, I rushed to help her, guiding her safely to her kitchen. She was grateful, of course, but what stood out was how her eyes softened with a mix of relief and gratitude. In that moment, I felt an inexplicable sense of lightness, as if her thanks had cleansed a part of my own burdened soul. A similar moment unfolded when I volunteered at a local shelter. I was assigned to help Peter, a middle-aged man who had lost everything to addiction. He was wary of accepting help, his pride bruised and his spirit broken. Over time, as I continued to show up, sharing meals, listening to his stories, offering a hand not out of pity but out of genuine care, a transformation began, not just in Peter, but in me. I noticed he smiled more, talked more, and even began to look for jobs again. His resurgence mirrored the deepening understanding within me that compassion is a two-way street. It heals both the giver and the receiver. But the most significant story of compassion's healing touch unfolded with Lisa. Despite our disagreements, there was a day I found her in tears by the riverside, clutching a letter from her mother who had passed away years ago. My heart ached seeing her vulnerability. I sat beside her, offering not words, but my silent presence. When she finally looked up, her eyes reflected a storm of emotions. I listened as she poured out her heart about her grief, our drifting friendship, and her own feelings of isolation. In comforting her, feeling her pain as if it were my own, something shifted. We embraced, and years of misunderstanding melted away, leaving space for a renewed and deeper bond. Compassion has a way of threading through the tapestry of our lives, stitching together the torn and frayed edges of our relationships. It is a silent force, gentle yet profoundly powerful. Looking back at these moments, I realized that each act of kindness, each empathetic gesture, not only mended the hearts of those around me, but also brought solace to my own spirit. Compassion, in its essence, is the balm that heals wounds invisible to the eye, fostering connections that withstand the test of time. Chapter 7. The Wisdom of Nature. Learning from the Elements. The first element I connected with was water. I spent countless afternoons by the river near my home, watching it flow endlessly, never rushing yet always moving. It was an embodiment of the Taoist principle of Wu Wei, or effortless action. Water never strains against its course. It moves around rocks, carving its path over time through persistence and flexibility. Whenever life's burdens seemed too heavy, I recalled the river's quiet determination, a constant reminder to adapt and flow around obstacles rather than crash into them. One day, I stood on a bridge, looking down at the river beneath me. A storm had passed the night before, and the usually serene water had transformed into a tumultuous, muddy torrent. Yet even in its frenzy, there was still beauty and purpose. The river was cleansing itself, carrying away debris and fallen leaves. It taught me that sometimes we too need to let the chaos in to cleanse our minds and spirits, to wash away thoughts and emotions that no longer serve us. In the gentle trickle of a stream, or the roaring rush of a storm-swollen river, water whispered lessons about resilience, change, and the power of surrender. I learned that being adaptable doesn't mean inaction, but finding the path of least resistance, growing stronger with every gentle bend and every vigorous upheaval. My next revelation came through fire. I remember sitting by a campfire, mesmerized by the dancing flames. Fire, I realized, symbolizes transformation, creation, and destruction all at once. In Taoism, it often represents passion and dynamism, the constant state of becoming, never static. I watched as the flames consumed the wood, reducing it to ash, and understood that fire's true power lies in its ability to transform what it touches. One evening, I found myself alone at a small bonfire ceremony in the desert. The flames crackled and roared, sending sparks into the night sky like stars. I felt their heat on my face, a reminder of life's burning aspirations and desires that propel us forward. But the fire also showed me that one must be cautious. Just as it provides warmth and light, out of control, it can destroy everything in its path. Balance is crucial. Fire needs fuel, but it also needs boundaries. From fire, I learned about the necessity of letting go, of allowing parts of myself to burn away, leaving room for new growth. I realized that to truly transform, one must embrace both the passion and the potential for destruction, understanding that even in the ashes, new life can emerge. The wind was my final teacher. Whether a gentle breeze or a fierce gale, the wind embodies freedom and change. It is invisible, and yet its presence is undeniably felt. Walking on a windy day, I sensed the Taoist principle of spontaneity and the importance of living in harmony with the natural flow. The wind doesn't have a definite direction. It shifts, it plays, it adapts. It reminded me to be flexible in life's uncertain journey and to embrace the unknown. There were moments when I stood atop a cliff, the wind whipping around me, feeling as if I might be swept away. But instead of fear, I felt liberation. The wind, in its unpredictability, taught me about the impermanent nature of life. Nothing remains the same. Everything is in constant flux, and there is profound beauty in that. On another occasion, while flying a kite with my nephew, I observed how the kite's stability depended on how we guided it against the wind's force. Too much resistance, and it would plummet. Too little, and it would drift aimlessly. It struck me as a metaphor for life's balance, guiding our own path amidst external forces without losing our core essence. Through these elemental teachings, I found that nature offers an inexhaustible reservoir of wisdom for those willing to listen. Water, fire, and wind, each in their unique way, mirrored life's complexities, teaching me to flow, to transform, and to embrace the ever-changing currents with an open heart. Connecting with the cycles of nature, every morning, as the first rays of sunlight began filtering through my window, I would feel a profound sense of renewal. Each dawn signaled the start of another opportunity to attune myself to the cycles of the seasons, day and night, and the other natural rhythms that govern our lives. As I looked around at the awakening world, the chirping of birds felt like a gentle reminder to embrace the flow of the day, no matter what it had in store. One particularly memorable experience was during a solstice. It was the longest day of the year, and I decided to spend it in complete symbiosis with its light. I rose before the sun and sat quietly in meditation, feeling the soft hum of the earth beneath me. By synchronizing my morning routine with the natural world, I found an unexpected clarity. Time seemed to slow, and the hustle and bustle of daily life faded away, replaced by a serene connection to something much larger than myself. This connection deepened during the shorter and colder winter days. Instead of resisting the increasing darkness, I made a conscious decision to embrace it. I remembered my grandfather's words, "Within the darkest nights, you'll find your brightest thoughts." Evenings were spent beside the crackling fire, with the scent of burning wood mingling with the crisp winter air. Reflecting on the quiet contemplation that winter enforced, I realized how the season taught me to look inward, to understand my own cycles of growth and rest. Seasons, too, dictated our farming schedule. Lush spring brought planting, summer demanded relentless tending, autumn called for harvesting, and winter offered rest. Each phase had its own rhythm, and by adhering closely to these natural cycles, I felt more balanced. I could sense the steady cadence of life, an intricate dance I was a part of. It was humbling and exhilarating in equal measure. There was a particular November night when I felt the night sky pulling me outside. As I wrapped myself in a warm blanket and watched the stars, I felt an overwhelming sense of stillness, a silence that seemed to whisper ancient truths. The vastness of the cosmos and the insignificant speck that I was within it made me feel connected and detached at the same time. By honoring these natural rituals, I began to understand that every turn of earth held wisdom for us, to rest, to grow, to reflect. Each season brought forth forgotten stories, tasks, and traditions. The rhythm of the rain against my roof, the rustle of leaves underfoot, the ebb and flow of tides, all these patterns seemed to resonate with my very heartbeat. The modern world with its technological marvels often blinds us to these subtle cues. But when we take a moment to connect, Even in the busiest of cities, we can find a fragment of this wisdom. Looking up at the sky, feeling the wind on our face, or simply noticing the change in temperature, all these acts anchor us back to our roots. And now, as I write this, another cycle is completing its course. The moon is rising, casting a gentle, silvery light over everything. There is a quiet magic in the air, a sense of calm that envelops the world. And in this moment, I am reminded once more to pause, to breathe, and to give thanks for the cycles that guide us through our lives, ever faithful and ever present. Honoring the natural world. It's often said that the city has a beat and rhythm all its own, but it's not until you step into the still embrace of the wild that you truly feel the pulse of the earth. I had grown accustomed to the hum of traffic and the glow of neon, but somewhere deep within me, there was a longing, a call from the past when human existence was more harmonious with nature. My journey to reconnect with the natural world began on an unexpectedly warm October day, the sun casting long shadows through the golden leaves as I entered the vast expanse of the forest. The air was thick with the rich, earthy scent of damp leaves and moss. Every step I took on the spongy forest floor seemed to whisper an invitation to slow down and become present. I felt the Taoist principles come alive around me, the understanding that we are not separate entities floating in the world, but threads of a larger, intricate tapestry. As I wandered deeper, listening to the rustling leaves and distant calls of forest creatures, it became clear how disconnected I'd been. The forest was a living entity, and I was an integral part of it, just as much as the trees, the streams, and the little creatures scurrying about their business. My mind quieted. The endless to-do lists, the worries, the noise, they all faded away. I found a smooth rock beside a bubbling brook and sat, closing my eyes. The gentle gurgling of water over stones filled my ears, a natural symphony that stilled my soul. This communion with nature wasn't just an escape, it was an essential reconnection. The Tao Te Ching speaks of the importance of yielding and being in harmony with the ways of nature, and I began to understand that on a profound level. The trees, the water, the very earth beneath me, they all moved to a rhythm that I was a part of, and this was something I had forgotten in my rush to keep up with city life. As the sun dipped below the horizon, I felt a shift within me. It was as if nature had granted me a new pair of eyes through which to see the world, bringing to light the intricate dance we all share with our surroundings. I rose from my meditative spot, making my way back through the forest, now blanketed in twilight hues. The experience had left an indelible mark on me. I was not returning to the city the same person who had left it. Though the neon lights and the hum of traffic awaited me, I carried with me the deeper, quieter pulse of the natural world, a reminder to honor it as an inseparable part of my own being. Chapter 8. Simplicity and Tranquility. Decluttering the Mind and Space. The first time I truly decluttered my life, it felt as though I had finally found the key to a locked door within my mind. You see, clutter isn't just about the physical disarray around us. It manifests equally in our thoughts, suffusing our mental landscape with noise and distraction. I embarked on a journey to clear both realms, and the results were nothing short of transformative. It all started in my apartment, which had become a labyrinth of items accumulated over years of impulsive decisions and sentimental hoarding. I tackled it one room at a time, starting with the closet. I asked myself 3 essential questions. Do I need this? Does it serve a purpose? Does it bring me joy? My wardrobe shrank significantly, but what remained were items that resonated with my present self, not a bygone version of me. The effects of physical decluttering extended deeply into my mental state. As my living space became more open and organized, so did my mind. I began to feel a new level of serenity each time I walked into a room where everything had its place and purpose. I was also inspired to delve into mental decluttering techniques, like meditation and journaling, practices that helped sift through the debris of my thoughts. One practical tip I found remarkably effective was setting aside 15 minutes each day for a clutter cleanse. Whether it was clearing out an overstuffed drawer or meditating to release pent-up stress, dedicating a small window of time felt manageable and resulted in noticeable improvements. This daily ritual became a form of self-care, a way to reset and realign with my priorities. Another powerful exercise was creating a mind dump journal. Each morning, I would spend 5 minutes writing down every worry, task, or random thought occupying my mind. This simple act of transferring thoughts to paper decluttered my mental space, leaving me more focused and less burdened throughout the day. The physical act of writing gave my mind permission to release these thoughts, knowing they were stored safely for later review if needed. But the journey didn't end there. The more I decluttered, the more I noticed how much of my clutter stemmed from external influences, societal pressures, cultural norms, and even relationships that no longer served a positive role in my life. It's astonishing how much mental space you can reclaim by evaluating and curating the relationships that truly matter. I learned to say no more often, setting boundaries that protected my newfound clarity and peace. As my experiment in decluttering continued, I realized that this wasn't just about living a minimalist lifestyle. It was a spiritual cleanse, too. Every discarded item, every jettisoned negative thought felt like peeling back layers to reveal a more authentic self. It was a journey inward, towards inner harmony. This newfound simplicity allowed for deeper connections with myself and others, creating a ripple effect of positivity in my life. And so, if there's one piece of advice I could impart, it is this. Start small, but start now. You'll be amazed at how much lighter you feel with each step. Whether it's the drawer in your kitchen overflowing with miscellanea or the unspoken anxieties gnawing at your peace, tackle it one piece at a time. In shedding what no longer serves us, we create space for what nourishes our soul. As I write this, I'm seated in my decluttered living room, surrounded by objects that bring me joy and thoughts that serve my well-being. The tranquility is palpable, almost as if you could touch it. My mind is a serene lake, undisturbed and reflective, and I can't help but marvel at how a simple act of decluttering could lead to such profound peace. Yet, as serene as I feel, I keep wondering, what more is there to discover on this journey, embracing minimalism? Embarking on my journey towards minimalism was like setting off on an uncharted path, the landscape dotted with uncertainties, yet brimming with promise. At first, the sheer volume of my possessions felt like an insurmountable mountain. Shelves overflowing with books, closets packed with clothes, and drawers jammed with trinkets, all clamoring for attention, ostensibly indispensable. The challenge was not just physical, but emotional. Each item whispered a story, held a fragment of identity, or offered a whisper of comfort. The early days were particularly grueling as I grappled with the self-inflicted question, what did I truly need and what was tethering me to the past? With every item I held, I had to confront not just its utility, but its essence in my life. The cracked coffee mug from a dear friend, the letters from old loves, worn-out shoes from adventures past. Letting go felt like peeling away parts of myself, each piece a small surrender to the unknown. As possessions dwindled, space opened up, not just in my home, but in my mind and spirit. The principles of Taoism began to resonate deeply within me. Laozi's words, manifest plainness, embrace simplicity, reduce selfishness, have few desires, echoed through the quieter rooms. With fewer items around, each possession gained significance and served a purpose, aligning seamlessly with the Taoist value of living in harmony with nature and oneself. The joy of minimalism revealed itself in these quiet moments of clarity. I found myself more present, more attuned to the now. The cacophony of needless things which had once been a din was silenced. I discovered beauty in the mundane, a single flower in a slender vase, the dance of sunlight on an uncluttered table, the comforting hum of an empty room. These simple pleasures, so often overshadowed by excess, became the highlights of my day. Yet, minimalism also brought its own set of challenges, tests of resilience that pushed my commitment. There were times when the simplicity felt stark, the emptiness almost like a void threatening to swallow me whole. Friends and family questioned my choices, their doubts a mirror to my own fears. They saw the bare walls, the scant belongings, and mistook them for deprivation rather than deliberate selection. The path to minimalism was not without its temptations either. The instant gratification of buying new items, the allure of sales, and the social validation of material success tested my resolve. In those moments, the teachings of Taoism provided a steady anchor. I learned to appreciate the impermanence of things, finding comfort in the ebb and flow of life. Each challenge became a teacher, reinforcing the beauty of living with less. As the journey progressed, a sense of peace settled in. My home became a sanctuary, a space where each element contributed to an atmosphere of calm and purpose. Relationships deepened as I spent more time with people rather than things. The simplicity brought joy and freedom, a reminder of what truly mattered: the connections, the experiences, the moments of stillness. In embracing minimalism, I found a profound alignment with Taoist values. It was not just about decluttering, but about cultivating a life of intention, balance, and harmony. Every day became a practice in mindful living, a step closer to the essence of who I wished to be. And while the journey continues, fraught with its own set of challenges and revelations, it is one I embrace with open arms and a grateful heart. Finding peace in solitude. The world outside my window buzzes with a relentless cacophony, a symphony of hurried footsteps, car horns, and constant chatter. It's a city that never sleeps, filled with lives entangled in a ceaseless rush. But here, within the confines of my small apartment, I've constructed a sanctuary of stillness. In this silence, I find a profound peace that no amount of social interaction could ever replicate. I came to realize the value of solitude quite unexpectedly. There was a time when I felt an almost compulsive need to fill every moment with activity, every silence with noise. I was afraid, perhaps, of what I might find in the quiet: fears, anxieties, unfinished thoughts. But as I began to intentionally carve out moments of solitude, those fears gave way to something far more enriching. One of the first practices I embraced was simply sitting with myself, in the quiet, with no distractions. At first, my mind would race, thoughts tumbling over one another in a frantic effort to fill the space. But gradually, as I persisted, those thoughts slowed down. I realized that my mind was a garden, overrun with weeds of worry and anxiety. In solitude, I could tend to it, clear away the clutter, and nurture the seeds of clarity and peace. Meditation became my daily ritual. I would sit on a cushion by the window, eyes closed, feeling the warm sunlight cascade over my face. Inhaling deeply, I allowed the breath to draw my attention inward, away from the clamor of the external world. With each exhale, I released a fragment of the tension that I didn't even know I was carrying. The stillness enveloped me, and in that serene embrace, I found myself reconnecting with the depths of my own being. During these moments, I also discovered the therapeutic power of mindful walks. I would venture out at dawn, when the streets were still and the city seemed to hold its breath. The rhythmic sound of my footsteps on the pavement, the rustle of leaves in the breeze, and the distant call of birds became a symphony of simplicity. I was fully present, each step grounding me, each breath a reminder of my place in the vast tapestry of life. Reading, too, became a portal to solitude. I delved into books that not only transported me to different worlds, but also mirrored the intricate landscape of my thoughts and emotions. The words on the pages spoke to me in the silence, offering reflections and insights that resonated deeply. In the quiet companionship of authors and poets, I found solace and understanding. Their words, a soft murmur in the vast stillness, guided me towards greater self-awareness and compassion. Artistic expression further enriched my solitary time. I immersed myself in painting and writing, allowing my creativity to flow unrestrained. Each brushstroke, each word, became a meditation in motion. I poured my inner world onto canvases and pages, translating my experiences, dreams, and struggles into tangible forms. The act of creating in solitude was cathartic, a dialogue with my soul that brought a sense of fulfillment and quiet joy. Solitude, I realized, was not an absence but an abundance, a space where I could truly be with myself. It was not lonely but liberating, offering a respite from the demands and expectations of the world. In these quiet moments, I found clarity, strength, and a deeper connection with the essence of who I am. As I sit here now, in the tranquility of my sanctuary, I am grateful for the peace that solitude has brought into my life. It is a gift that anyone can embrace, a practice that can be cultivated with intention and mindfulness. In solitude, we find the space to breathe, to reflect, and to grow. It is here, in the quiet and stillness, that we truly come home to ourselves. Chapter 9. Embracing Change. Adapting to the seasons of life. Life has a rhythm, an ebb and flow that mirrors the cycles of nature. Just as the Earth experiences the predictable progression of seasons, so too do we undergo phases of transformation, each one unique and necessary. These phases call upon us to adapt, to find meaning and growth within the ever-changing landscape of our existence. I've often pondered this interplay between inner and outer worlds, particularly during times of personal transition. Springtime in my life arrived with exuberance as I started a new job in a city where opportunities seemed boundless. There was a sense of renewal and possibility everywhere I looked, much like the fresh buds and blossoms that signify the end of winter. I thrived in this environment, making new friends and exploring avenues that had previously been closed to me. Yet, even in this season of new beginnings, there were moments of uncertainty and doubt, like late frosts threatening tender shoots. I learned to embrace these challenges, understanding that growth often comes through struggle and patience. Summers were the high points, the times when accomplishments and relationships reached full bloom. It was during one such summer that I felt a profound connection to the world around me, a sense of fulfillment and contentment I had never known. Late evenings spent in deep conversation, the warmth of the sun on my skin, the laughter shared with loved ones, all these formed the tapestry of my happiest memories. However, summer also taught me about the balance between abundance and excess. Too much of anything, even joy, can lead to burnout and stagnation. Thus, I learned to savor these moments, appreciating their fleeting nature while preparing for what lay ahead. Then came autumn, a season of reflection and letting go. The transition from summer's vibrancy to autumn's quiet introspection paralleled shifts in my own life. Relationships that no longer served me fell away, much like leaves drifting from tree branches. This season taught me the importance of release, of making peace with what has been, and readying oneself for what is yet to come. As the days grew shorter and the air crisp, I discovered a newfound sense of clarity and purpose. The shedding of old layers made way for inner growth, an understanding that every end carries within it the seed of a new beginning. Winter, though often harsh and unforgiving, brought with it a different kind of beauty. In the stillness of long, dark nights, I found solitude and reflection. It was a time to go inward, to assess the year that had passed, and to plan for the future. Like the earth resting beneath a blanket of snow, I learned that dormancy is a vital part of the cycle. Without it, there can be no renewal. Despite the cold and isolation, winter offered a profound opportunity for inner work, for healing and preparation. As I reflect on these seasons of life, their joys, challenges, and lessons, I am reminded of the intrinsic wisdom they hold. Embracing each phase with openness and grace allows us to move fluidly through our journey, adapting to change while remaining true to the essence of who we are. Life's seasons are not merely a backdrop, they are active participants in our growth, guiding and shaping us in ways both subtle and profound. By understanding and accepting this, we can navigate the complexities of our paths with greater ease and fulfillment. Letting go of resistance. There was a time in my life where resistance was my constant companion. I would wake up in the morning, already feeling the weight of the day pressing against my chest. The more I resisted, the more it seemed to entangle me, like a relentless vine wrapping itself around my spirit. I remember one particular day, standing at the crosswalk, waiting for the light to change. The sky was overcast, reflecting the turmoil within me. As I stood there, I realized I was fighting against everything. The weather, the traffic, even my own thoughts. I was exhausted, yet unwilling to let go. It was during a conversation with an old friend that the first seed of change was planted. She spoke about acceptance with a tranquility that made me envious. She described her own struggle and how she discovered peace by surrendering to what is. Her words lingered, and though I didn't fully grasp their depth at the time, they nudged something within me. Could it really be that simple? Could letting go of resistance lead to a greater ease and flow in life? That night, as I lay in bed, I pondered over this newfound possibility. Months went by before I truly made the practice of acceptance a part of my life. One morning, I was caught in a heavy downpour without an umbrella. My first instinct was to curse my luck, but then I remembered my friend's words. Instead of resisting the rain, I chose to welcome it. I walked slowly, feeling the cool drops against my skin, allowing myself to be fully present in the moment. It was a small act of surrender, but it felt monumental. I arrived at my destination drenched but strangely elated, my spirit lighter than it had been in years. Since then, I have continued to explore this principle in various aspects of my life. There are days when resistance creeps back in, but I've learned to recognize its unmistakable grip. Instead of fighting it, I lean into the discomfort, acknowledging its presence without yielding to its control. It's a continuous journey, one that has no final destination, only milestones of growth and understanding. Looking back, I can see how resistance held me back, like an anchor dragging along the ocean floor. Letting go has opened doors I never knew existed, allowing me to flow with the currents of life rather than against them. It's an ongoing practice of trust, a dance between effort and surrender, and in that delicate balance, I've found a deeper sense of peace and fulfillment. In sharing these experiences, I hope to inspire others to pause and reflect on their own resistance. It's not about eliminating all obstacles or challenges, but about changing our relationship with them. To embrace what is, with all its imperfections, and trust that we are exactly where we need to be. As I continue on this path, I am reminded that letting go of resistance is not a sign of weakness, but of profound inner strength. It's a testament to our resilience and our capacity for growth, guiding us towards a life of greater ease and flow. The transformative power of change. The first significant change I remember was when I decided to leave my hometown. It was a small, quaint place where everyone knew each other, and every street corner held a memory. The decision to leave everything familiar was daunting, yet something called out to me, a whisper of adventure, of growth. It was as though I heard an inner voice daring me to step into the unknown. And so, with a shaking heart and trembling hands, I packed my belongings and embraced the promise of new beginnings. Moving to a bustling city was a shock to my system. It was a place where the streets pulsed with life, day and night, and anonymity was both a curse and a blessing. I struggled to find my footing, but in that struggle, I discovered parts of myself I never knew existed. I learned resilience, the kind that only surfaces when you're pushed to your limits. I made friends who became like family, and with each passing day, my courage grew. The city, with all its chaos and charm, shaped me in ways I still find hard to articulate. Years later, life threw another curveball my way. I lost a job I loved dearly, one I had poured my heart and soul into. The loss felt like a rug pulled from beneath my feet, leaving me teetering on the edge of despair. Yet in that darkness, I found an unexpected light. I began to rediscover old passions, ones I had shelved for practicality's sake. I started writing again, pouring my emotions into words and finding solace in the stories I crafted. What seemed like an end was, in reality, a new beginning. One of the most profound changes came with the loss of a loved one. The grief felt insurmountable, a labyrinth in which I was perpetually lost. But with time, I began to see the beauty in the fragility of life. It taught me to cherish every moment, to hold my loved ones a little tighter, and to find gratitude even in sorrow. Each tear shed was a step toward healing, each memory a treasure that fortified my spirit. The final change I wish to share was a choice born out of an inner calling. After years of living a life dictated by societal standards, I decided to travel the world solo. This journey was more than just physical, it was a spiritual odyssey. Every place I visited offered a new perspective. Every person I met imparted wisdom. I felt my soul expanding, evolving with every footstep taken on foreign soil. It was a pilgrimage of the heart, one that continues to shape my essence profoundly. As I reflect on these changes, I realize they were not just events, but catalysts that propelled me toward growth. Each moment of uncertainty, each wave of fear, only served to mold me into a stronger, more authentic version of myself. Embracing change has unlocked doors to new opportunities, horizons I once thought unreachable. The beauty of change lies not in the destination, but in the journey itself. And as I continue to navigate life's ever-changing landscape, I remain open to the transformative power that each new chapter holds. Chapter 10. Self-Reflection and Awareness. Knowing oneself. You might remember a moment in your life when everything seemed to stand still, a whisper of clarity that pierced through the cacophony of thoughts. I remember mine vividly. It was a dew-laden morning, the kind where the air feels ripe with revelations. I was standing at the edge of a sprawling meadow. The hum of nature enveloped me, and for the first time in what felt like ages, silence reigned over my chaotic mind. Growing up, I had always been the type to rush headlong into life, embracing every twist and turn without much contemplation. My identity, I thought, was a patchwork quilt stitched together from the scraps of experiences, impressions, and fleeting passions. But in that meadow, surrounded by the serenity of a waking world, I began to unravel a deeper truth. It dawned on me that who I was stretched far beyond the superficial layers I had been curating. The journey thereafter was not a linear one. There were days when self-doubt gnawed at the edges of my newfound clarity. I recall one evening particularly well. The sky was a canvas of molten gold, and I sat on my porch, grappling with a feeling of profound inadequacy. Was I truly on the path to self-awareness, or was this another mirage, another fleeting phase? In those moments of uncertainty, I began delving into personal anecdotes, revisiting events that had shaped my perception of self. A significant memory stood out, a conversation with my grandfather under the ancient oak tree in our backyard. His voice, a blend of wisdom and weariness, echoed in my mind. He spoke of purpose, of facing one's fears, and most importantly, of accepting oneself unconditionally. That conversation was a catalyst, igniting a spark of introspection that had since flickered and faltered, but never truly died. Through months of reflection and practice, I nurtured that spark into a steady flame. Meditation became a haven where I could sift through the clutter, and journaling turned into a dialogue with my own soul. Each page, a testament to my evolving self, revealed profound insights. It became clear that understanding oneself was not about achieving a fixed state of being, but rather embracing the fluidity of identity. The profound impact of truly knowing oneself is not an occurrence but an ongoing process. It transforms how we engage with the world, fostering empathy and compassion. Through genuine self-awareness, I began seeing others not as mere characters in my story, but as complex beings navigating their own paths. Relationships deepened, and serendipitous connections flourished, as authenticity became the cornerstone of my interactions. As I stand at the precipice of this ongoing journey, I am reminded that the path to self-awareness is one that winds through valleys of doubt and peaks of epiphany. It's a sacred pilgrimage inward, where each step brings us closer to our true essence. In understanding oneself, we find an anchor amidst the storm, a beacon of light guiding us through the labyrinth of life. And so, dear reader, I urge you to embark on this journey with an open heart. Embrace the moments of silence, listen to the whispers of your innermost thoughts, and fear not the revelations that might challenge your current self. For in the end, knowing oneself is not about discovering a destination, but cherishing the voyage itself. Cultivating self-awareness. As I sit in the quietude of early morning, a subtle light just beginning to creep through the curtains, I feel a stirring within me. It's a familiar sensation that has grown progressively clearer over the years, a call to turn inward, to explore the uncharted territories of my own mind and spirit. This moment of stillness is not just a practice, it is a necessity. It is in these moments, undisturbed by the distractions of the outer world, that I truly come to understand myself. In the beginning, the act of self-reflection felt foreign and uncomfortable. The cacophony of thoughts that greeted me was daunting. However, as I persisted, something incredible began to happen. The more I delved into my thoughts, the more patterns I started to notice. Like a spider weaving its intricate web, I began to see how my actions were interconnected with my emotions and past experiences. Each reflection session brought with it a new layer of insight, a richer understanding of who I was and who I was becoming. One particularly transformative morning, not too different from this one, I confronted a recurring frustration. At work, I often found myself irritated by a colleague's terse manner of communicating. By peeling back the layers of my irritation, I discovered a long-standing insecurity about my own value and contributions. This colleague's behavior was merely a trigger, a mirror reflecting my deeper fears. It was a revelation that rocked me to my core. Understanding this didn't instantly dissolve my irritation, but it gave me a powerful tool: awareness. With awareness came a sense of control, a shift from reaction to thoughtful response. As weeks turned into months, I began to view my moments of tension and discomfort not as obstacles, but as opportunities for growth. Each flare of anger, each pang of sadness, became an invitation to look deeper. Why was I feeling this way? What was the underlying belief or thought fueling this emotion? Like a miner unearthing precious gems, I found treasures buried in the depths of my consciousness, insights that illuminated my path forward. The practice of self-reflection has not only deepened my understanding of myself, but has also profoundly altered my interactions with others. By recognizing my own complexities, I've become more empathetic towards the struggles of those around me. Conversations have shifted from surface-level exchanges to meaningful connections, from judgmental criticisms to compassionate understanding. It's as if my internal work has cleared a space for genuine, heartfelt dialogue. Yet, the journey of self-awareness is far from linear. There are days, even weeks, when I feel I am treading water, making no apparent progress. Doubt creeps in, accompanied by the noisy chattering of the ego, insisting I revert to my old, unexamined ways. But then, in moments of clarity, I am reminded that every step, no matter how small, is significant. Each moment of introspection is a building block, creating a foundation for a more authentic, enlightened life. As I continue to faithfully engage in this practice, the tapestry of my inner world becomes richer, more intricate. My reflections carve out new paths in the landscape of my mind, leading me to places of profound understanding and peace. Through self-awareness, I am not just living my life, I am creating it, moment by moment, thought by thought. And it is in this creation that I find the true essence of my being, a reflection of the divine, continually evolving, and endlessly captivating. The journey of self-discovery. The warmth of the morning sun filtered through the delicate lace curtains, casting intricate patterns on the floor. I sat in the quiet of my small apartment, cradling a mug of steaming tea. This was my sanctuary, a place where I often found myself lost in thought, seeking answers to questions that had no easy resolutions. It was in these serene moments that the journey of self-discovery found its wings. One of the earliest pivotal moments in this ongoing quest came unexpectedly. It was during a solo hike in the mountains. As I ascended the rugged path, the vastness of nature surrounding me, I felt an acute sense of insignificance. Each step became a meditation, a dialogue with my inner self. The rustling leaves, the chirping of distant birds, and the whispering wind became my guides. Sitting atop the peak, I realized that understanding oneself was like exploring an uncharted territory, exciting yet profoundly challenging. Another striking moment occurred during a routine conversation with an old friend. As we exchanged stories of our lives, our successes, and our failures, I felt an overwhelming need to be more authentic. The layers of pretense, built meticulously over the years, began to crumble. In a rare moment of vulnerability, I shared my deepest fears and aspirations. That conversation illuminated the intrinsic value of genuine human connection and how it serves as a mirror, reflecting parts of ourselves we often overlook. Recently, a chance encounter with an elderly stranger at a secluded beach had a profound impact on me. His weathered face and wise eyes spoke of a life lived with intentionality. As we talked, he emphasized the importance of embracing one's imperfections. "Perfection is a myth," he said. "True beauty lies in our flaws and how we overcome them." His words resonated deeply, inviting me to let go of my relentless pursuit of an idealized self and instead celebrate my authentic journey. As I continue to navigate this path, I am constantly reminded that self-discovery is not a destination, but a lifelong process. Each moment of clarity, each fragment of insight adds to the mosaic of understanding. The journey itself, with its trials and triumphs, is the greatest teacher. And so, with an open heart and a curious spirit, I continue to embrace the unknown, knowing that each step brings me closer to the essence of who I am. Chapter 11. Harmonious Relationships. Communicating with Compassion. As the sun began its descent, casting a golden glow across the park, I found myself seated on a wooden bench, observing the world through a gently shifting lens. This place had always been a sanctuary for me, a corner of the earth where nature's beauty and human emotion coalesced in quiet harmony. A pair of sparrows flitted about, their soft chirps narrating an age-old tale of connection that seemed almost spiritual. My reverie was broken by the sudden appearance of Emma, a dear friend who seemed visibly distressed. Her brows were furrowed, and the usual sparkle in her eyes was missing. She sat beside me, exhaling a breath laden with unspoken words. "I've had an argument with Lucas," she finally confessed, her voice tinged with frustration. "He just doesn't understand me." I listened intently, allowing her to pour out her feelings without interruption. This was the first step in compassionate communication, listening with the intent to understand, not to reply. As Emma unraveled the events that led to the argument, I could see the pain and confusion etched on her face. It was clear that she felt unheard and unappreciated. "Emma," I began softly, "every conflict carries within it the seeds of deeper understanding and stronger bonds." She looked at me, skepticism clouding her gaze. "Let's try something together," I suggested. "Close your eyes and take a deep breath. Imagine Lucas standing before you, but instead of seeing him through the lens of past grievances, see him as a fellow human being struggling with his own emotions and fears." She hesitated but complied, her breathing gradually growing steadier. "Now imagine speaking to him from a place of empathy. What would you say?" Emma's expression softened, and she whispered, "I would tell him that I feel hurt and neglected, but I understand that he's been under a lot of pressure. I want us to support each other." "That's beautiful, Emma," I said, placing a comforting hand on her shoulder. "When we communicate with compassion, we open the door to healing and connection. It's not about winning or losing, but about understanding and being understood." Emma nodded, a flicker of hope in her eyes. "I'll talk to him tomorrow. I'll try to listen and speak with love rather than frustration." She smiled, the tension in her shoulders easing. It was a small yet profound transformation, one that I knew could change the course of their relationship. As we parted ways, I felt a deep sense of fulfillment. Compassionate communication, I realized, was a powerful tool that had the potential to mend hearts and forge unbreakable bonds. It was a gentle reminder that in a world often filled with noise and chaos, kindness and empathy were the true languages of the soul. The park, now bathed in the soft glow of twilight, stood as a testament to the beauty that arises when we choose to connect from the heart. Nurturing connections. The evening air was thick with the scent of pine and the distant murmurs of cicadas. These moments after a family dinner, where laughter echoed around the room, were when I felt the most grounded. I often sat back and watched my parents interact, their understanding of each other seemingly woven into the very fibers of their beings. It wasn't perfect, no relationship ever is, but the love they nurtured created a foundation that supported us through every storm. One such storm hit when my younger sister Ella faced a severe illness. The family pulled tighter than ever before. Dad, who was normally the stoic pillar, became the caretaker, his hands tender yet firm as he managed Ella's medications. Mom, usually the nurturer, turned into a warrior, navigating the maze of healthcare with a determination that seemed to shine from some divine inner light. During this period, our family meals became less about the food and more about sustaining a fragile connection. Each shared story, each burst of laughter, was a thread in the tapestry that held us together. Beyond the family, friendships have a unique kind of sacredness. I remember my college roommate, Jason, and the night we sat on the rooftop of our apartment, staring at the stars. Under the blanket of night, we shared fears and dreams that neither of us had uttered to anyone else. In those moments of raw honesty, we built a bond that would carry us through the hardest of times. My move across the country didn't dim our connection. Rather, it reinforced the idea that true friends are not bound by geography, but by heartstrings. His unexpected visit during the first challenging winter in my new city was a testament to this enduring truth. Community, too, holds a spiritual power. When I attended my first neighborhood potluck, I felt a sense of belonging that was almost celestial. Our differences in background, culture, and opinions melted away in the warmth of shared dishes and stories. I discovered that Mrs. Nguyen, who lived 2 doors down, had a passion for rescuing stray animals and learned of Mr. Patel's journey from a small village in India to our bustling city. Each story was a thread in the colorful fabric of our neighborhood, and in it, I found a new layer of my own identity. One afternoon, while tending to the community garden, I met Sarah, an elderly woman with eyes that seemed to hold centuries of wisdom. She shared tales of love and loss, teaching me that community is about more than proximity. It's about shared experiences and the emotional glue that binds us. We spent many hours under the sun, nurturing the soil as much as our budding friendship. Her sudden illness was a blow to the community, but it also rallied everyone together in support. Her recovery was celebrated with a garden party that solidified our collective bond. The true essence of nurturing connections became evident when we faced the sudden onslaught of a natural disaster. The floodwaters that ravaged our town brought heartache, but also unveiled the strength of human connection. Families, friends, and neighbors banded together in a way that dissolved all boundaries. In the face of adversity, we discovered the power of unity, a force that was almost divine in its purity. We shared food, offered shelter, and extended compassion, finding resilience in each other's company. As the waters receded, I realized that the bonds we nurtured were the anchors that kept us grounded. Each relationship, whether familial, friendly, or communal, contributed to a vast network of support that was both seen and unseen. It was in these connections that I found a sense of spiritual fulfillment, a realization that we are not solitary beings, but part of a magnificent, interconnected mosaic. And as life continued to unfold, with all its unpredictable events, I held on to these bonds, knowing that they were the true essence of our existence. Building healthy boundaries. Setting boundaries has always been a foreign concept to me. Growing up, the lines between my own desires and the expectations of others were often blurred. I remember feeling an overwhelming sense of duty to others, often at the expense of my own well-being. This constant tug-of-war left me exhausted and resentful. I was operating on autopilot, unaware that the lack of boundaries was slowly eroding my spirit. My journey towards understanding and implementing healthy boundaries began unexpectedly. It started with a simple self-help book recommended by a friend, one that emphasized the importance of saying no. As I devoured each page, the words seemed to resonate deeply within me, like a long-forgotten truth finally coming to light. For the first time, I realized that creating boundaries was not about building walls, but rather defining spaces where I could nurture myself. Armed with this newfound understanding, I embarked on a mission to reclaim my life. The first step was acknowledging areas where I felt overextended. I vividly remember one such instance with a colleague who would frequently offload their work onto me. Previously, I had complied out of a misplaced sense of camaraderie, but now, with a deep breath and racing heart, I gently yet firmly declined, explaining that I had my own workload to manage. It was liberating, like shedding a layer of skin that no longer fit. Maintaining these boundaries proved to be the real challenge. There were moments of guilt and self-doubt, times when I questioned if I was being selfish. Yet, with every boundary I upheld, I noticed a shift in my relationships. People began to respect my space more, leading to more honest and fulfilling interactions. It was as if an invisible burden had been lifted, allowing me to engage more authentically with the world around me. One profound moment came during a family gathering. My familial ties had always been the trickiest to navigate, often laced with unspoken expectations and obligations. This time, when a relative insisted I take on a task I had no interest in, I calmly but assertively expressed my inability to do so. To my surprise, the sky didn't fall. Instead, my boundary was met with respect. It dawned on me that I had been underestimating both myself and my loved ones. The process is ongoing, a continuous dance of assessing and reaffirming my boundaries. However, the more I practice, the more natural it becomes. What started as a hesitant exploration has evolved into a powerful affirmation of my self-worth. In creating these boundaries, I am not only protecting myself, but also fostering healthier, more respectful relationships. Looking back, I can see how crucial these boundaries have been for my personal growth. They have given me the space to breathe, to reflect, and to be more present in my own life. While the journey has not been without its hurdles, each step has brought me closer to a sense of wholeness and peace. As I stand on this ever-evolving path, I feel a deep spiritual connection to my true self, knowing that these boundaries are the sacred lines that preserve my essence. Chapter 12: The Path to Inner Wisdom. Honoring Intuition. There have been moments in my life where reason and logic screamed at me, waving bright red flags of caution. Yet a quieter, insistent voice within me whispered its own truth, leading me down paths that were less obvious, but eventually more fulfilling. Trusting this inner voice, my intuition, often felt like stepping into the unknown with nothing but faith as my companion. But time and again, it has proved to be the most reliable guide. I remember a specific instance when I was offered a high-paying job at a prestigious company. On paper, it seemed like a dream opportunity, an impressive title, substantial salary, and an office with a stunning view of the city skyline. Everything was perfect, except for a nagging sensation that this wasn't the right fit for me. Friends and family advised me to take the job, citing stability and growth, but my intuition kept pulling me back. Trusting that inner voice felt reckless, absurd even, in the face of such a golden opportunity. Yet, I couldn't shake the unease. With a heavy heart, I declined the offer, not fully understanding why. A few months later, news broke that the company was embroiled in a massive scandal, leading to layoffs and tarnished reputations. The relief I felt was profound, affirming that my intuition had seen what my eyes couldn't. Another defining moment came when I was looking for a place to call home. I walked through countless apartments and houses, each one more sterile and uninspiring than the last. Then, one rainy afternoon, I stumbled upon a small, unassuming cottage on the outskirts of town. It wasn't new or luxurious, and the price was well within my means. But from the moment I stepped inside, I felt an overwhelming sense of peace. The feeling was inexplicable, but undeniable. Against the advice of others who urged me to find something more investment-worthy, I bought the cottage. It was here that I discovered a deeper connection to myself and a community of like-minded individuals who nourished my soul. This home became my sanctuary, a place where my creativity flourished and where I felt truly content. My intuition had guided me to a haven that logic would have dismissed. An experience that further deepened my trust in intuition happened while traveling alone through a foreign country. I had planned my itinerary meticulously, but one morning, as I sipped my coffee in a quaint cafe, I felt an unshakable urge to visit a small village that wasn't on my route. The decision defied logic. There was no apparent reason to go there, and it would throw off my entire schedule. Yet, the pull was so strong, I couldn't ignore it. Arriving in the village, I wandered through cobblestone streets and stumbled upon a local festival. The music, the colors, the energy, everything felt magical. I struck up a conversation with an elderly man who shared stories of the village's rich history and invited me to stay for dinner with his family. It was a day filled with unexpected connections and profound joy, a gift from simply honoring my intuition. Each of these instances has reaffirmed the power of intuition in my life. It transcends logic, defies reason, and yet it leads me towards authentic living. Trusting my inner voice hasn't always been easy. Doubt and fear often lurk, questioning my choices. But every time I honor this inner compass, I find myself on a path that is uniquely mine, rich with meaning and fulfillment. In a world that often values practicality over passion, listening to your intuition might seem like folly. But I have learned that the whispers of the soul are guiding us to our true selves. Every time I heed this sacred call, I step closer to a life that resonates deeply with who I am. And in that resonance, I find peace, purpose, and an unwavering sense of belonging. Embracing spiritual growth. The early morning air was crisp as I stepped outside for my daily meditation. The world seemed hushed, giving space for the silent reverie I was about to embark upon. I found my usual spot under the old willow tree, its leaves whispering secrets of ancient wisdom. I crossed my legs, closed my eyes, and began to focus on my breath. Inhaling deeply, I felt the cool air fill my lungs, bringing a sense of renewal with each breath. It was in moments like these that I felt more attuned to the universe, more intimately connected to the threads that weave through the fabric of existence. Over the years, I had experimented with various spiritual practices, each one adding a unique layer to my spiritual journey. Yoga had become a staple in my routine, a way to connect with my body and spirit in harmony. Each pose, each stretch, was a prayer, a physical manifestation of my inward journey. I started seeking lessons in mindfulness from various cultures, drawing wisdom from Buddhist teachings, Hindu philosophy, and even indigenous practices that celebrated the earth and its energies. As I delved deeper, I realized that spiritual growth wasn't a destination, but rather a continuous journey. There were days where I felt profound enlightenment, moments of clarity that made everything seem intertwined and purposeful. But there were also days of doubt, where the path seemed foggy and my spirit felt weary. It was during these downtimes that my spiritual practice showed its true power. It fortified me, giving me resilience and hope. Each practice, whether it was the silent whispers of prayer, the rhythm of my breath in meditation, or the fluid movements of a yoga sequence, served as a reminder of my endless capacity for growth. I had come to appreciate the beauty in the ongoing process, understanding that each step forward, no matter how small, was a victory. The candles I lit during my evening rituals brought a sense of sacredness to my space, illuminating not just my surroundings but my soul as well. One pivotal moment in my spiritual journey was an encounter with a wise elder during a retreat. His eyes twinkled with the wisdom of ages, and his presence was almost ethereal. He spoke of his own journey, the countless spiritual practices he had embraced, and the profound lessons he had learned. Listening to him, I felt a shared sense of kinship, recognizing the universality of our individual quests for spiritual enlightenment. His words echoed in my heart long after, reminding me of the collective journey we all are a part of. As dusk began to fall that day, under the silken canopy of stars, I sat by the willow tree once more. This time, I didn't meditate. Instead, I allowed myself to simply be, to feel the pulse of the earth beneath me, the gentle caress of the wind, and the silent songs of the cosmos. It was a moment of pure, unadulterated presence. In that space of stillness, I felt a profound sense of peace envelop me, reaffirming the endless beauty of my spiritual voyage. And so, my journey continues. Each day, each practice, each breath brings new lessons, guiding me ever deeper into the labyrinth of self-discovery and spiritual growth. The path is unending, but in its endlessness lies the beauty of perpetual evolution. I embrace it all, the light and the dark, the clarity and the confusion, knowing that every moment is a stepping stone towards a greater understanding of myself and the universe. Living with integrity. The gentle golden light filtered through my bedroom window, illuminating the room with an almost serene warmth. I had always believed that mornings carried an innate promise of new beginnings, a blank canvas to paint our values upon. As I stretched and felt the soft embrace of my bed sheets, I reflected on the importance of living in alignment with one's values and principles. Moments of doubt and temptation relentlessly tested my resolve, yet there was a profound clarity and peace in sticking to what felt inherently right. Working at a renowned firm had its perks, but the ethical dilemmas were frequent and challenging. One such incident had highlighted the crossroads between ambition and integrity. I was leading a major project that promised to catapult my career to new heights. However, the solution proposed by our client involved bending rules that clashed with my core values. Suspicions turned into certainties as I reviewed the proposal meticulously, crossing ethical lines for short-term gains versus facing potential loss, but standing firmly by my principles. The choice seemed clear but arduous. Conversations with my colleagues reflected varying degrees of moral flexibility. "It's just business," one of them had nonchalantly remarked, waving off my concerns. But deep inside, I knew the path of integrity, though steeper and thornier, was the only course that ensured self-respect and true peace. It was not just about professional ethics, but a broader spectrum of daily actions guided by unwavering principles. Lunchtime discussions with my mentor often centered around philosophical and spiritual queries. On that particular day, as I voiced my dilemma, her gentle smile and wise words provided much-needed solace. "Living with integrity," she said, "lights up the soul's path. It is the inner compass that keeps us aligned with our truth." Her words echoed within me, reminding me that each moment of integrity not only shapes our life, but the world around us. That evening, I found myself walking through the city park, the fresh air doing wonders to clear my mind. The beauty of nature, unchanging and consistent in its integrity, served as a powerful metaphor. Leaves rustled as if whispering forgotten wisdom, To live truthfully in every aspect, no matter how small, was the essence of a fulfilled life. I lingered with my thoughts under the vast expanse of the sky, feeling an alleviation of the burden as my resolve strengthened. The following morning, I drafted an alternative proposal, one that adhered to ethical standards while still meeting the project's objectives. Presenting it to my superiors was nerve-wracking. Yet, to my surprise, my resolution inspired change. The firm decided to adopt a more principled approach, recognizing the long-term benefits of integrity-driven decisions. Reaffirming integrity in daily life often required confronting fears and standing against the tide. It meant choosing moments of honesty over convenience, kindness over apathy, and principles over profit. My reflections brought serene clarity. Such choices, although testing, illuminated life's true essence. My journey of living with integrity had just begun, promising a life of authenticity and profound inner peace. Chapter 13. Embracing Stillness and Meditation. The practice of meditation. The first time I sat down to meditate, I remember feeling a strange mix of anticipation and skepticism. The room was quiet, filled only with the soft hum of the outside world seeping through the window panes. I closed my eyes, took a deep breath, and tried to focus. Almost immediately, a torrent of thoughts flooded my mind. What I had to do later, the conversation I had with a friend, the groceries I needed to pick up. It was overwhelming and far from the peace I was expecting. But I persisted. I started with guided meditations, allowing the soothing voice of an instructor to lead me through the process. Visualization techniques, where I imagined a serene place or repeated a calming mantra, helped settle my restless mind. Using these methods, I slowly began to understand that meditation wasn't about banishing thoughts, but rather observing them without attachment. This realization was like discovering a hidden door in my mind, one that led to a space of remarkable tranquility. As the weeks turned into months, I experimented with various forms of meditation. Breath awareness became a cornerstone of my practice. I would sit quietly, concentrating solely on the rhythm of my breath. Inhaling deeply, feeling the air fill my lungs, then exhaling, releasing more than just carbon dioxide. Each breath became a cycle of renewal, a reminder of the simplicity and beauty of existence. Some days I practiced walking meditation, feeling the ground beneath my feet, connecting with each step. This movement-based meditation taught me to carry mindfulness into my daily activities, transforming mundane tasks into moments of presence and awareness. The effects on my life were profound. Anxiety, which had often felt like an unwanted companion, began to lose its grip on me. I found myself more patient, not just with others but with myself. There was a clarity in my thoughts, an ability to approach problems with a calm mind. Relationships improved as I became a better listener, more present and empathetic. The spiritual aspect of meditation deepened my connection to the world and to something greater than myself. It was as if I had tapped into a universal current of peace and understanding. Yet, the journey was not always smooth. There were days when meditation felt like an uphill battle, when my mind was too chaotic to quiet down. But even on those days, the practice taught me resilience and self-compassion. It wasn't about achieving perfection, but about showing up consistently, accepting where I was, and gently pushing forward. One particular evening stands out in my memory. I had had a rough day, filled with unexpected challenges and emotional turmoil. As I settled into my meditation space, I felt a deep sense of exhaustion. Closing my eyes, I began to breathe deeply, tuning into my inner world. Slowly, an overwhelming sense of peace washed over me, as if I was being enveloped by a warm, comforting embrace. It was in this moment that I truly understood the transformative power of meditation. It wasn't just a practice, it was a way of being, a lifeline to my truest self. As I opened my eyes, I felt a profound gratitude for the practice that had become an integral part of my life. The room seemed brighter, the air lighter, and I knew that no matter what life threw my way, I had a tool to navigate it with grace and equanimity. And in that small, quiet room, I made a silent promise to myself to continue this journey, one breath at a time, discovering the power of silence. It happened one quiet afternoon, sitting by the lake, the sun gently kissing the water's surface. I had always believed immense change required significant actions, but that day, I began to understand the transformative power of silence. Initially, it felt daunting, the absence of sounds creating a cacophony of thoughts in my head, each vying for attention. But as the moments stretched on, something extraordinary started to unfold. Breathing deeply, I let the tranquility envelop me, and slowly, my racing thoughts began to settle like autumn leaves finding their place on the ground. In that sacred silence, I felt a connection to a deeper part of myself, a part often obscured by the relentless noise of daily life. The silence allowed me to hear my inner voice, a source of wisdom and clarity that had long been drowned out. It whispered truths I had avoided confronting and highlighted strengths I had underestimated. As days turned into weeks, I made a habit of seeking pockets of silence. I started waking up before dawn, savoring the world in its most undisturbed state. These moments of quiet became my sanctuary, a space where I could reflect and recharge. It wasn't just about the absence of sound, it was about creating room for profound introspection. Slowly, I began to notice a shift in my demeanor. There was a newfound calmness in my response to life's challenges and a deeper awareness of my emotions. One evening, during my silent retreat, I experienced a profound moment of enlightenment. As the stars sparkled overhead and the world around me slumbered, a sense of peace washed over me, unlike anything I had ever felt. It was as if the universe spoke to me through the silence, hinting at the interconnectedness of all things. In that stillness, I found answers to questions I hadn't even known I had. The power of silence lies in its ability to strip away the superfluous and bring us face to face with our true selves. It's a journey inward, filled with revelations and realizations. And as I integrated this practice into my daily life, it became clear that silence was not an empty void, but rather a space teeming with potential and insight, waiting to be discovered. As I continue to embrace the power of silence, I have observed its ripple effect on those around me. My interactions have grown more meaningful, my decisions more inspired, and my inner life richer. In the quiet, I found a treasure trove of wisdom, a path to inner peace, and the realization that sometimes the most profound answers come not in words, but in the sacred symphony of silence. Restoring balance through stillness. The relentless buzz of modernity had woven itself into the very fabric of my life. My days were a blur of meetings, notifications, and mindless scrolling, each event clamoring for a slice of my attention. I had once prided myself on my ability to juggle it all, but bit by bit, I felt pieces of my spirit splintering away, lost to the incessant chaos. It wasn't until I found myself staring blankly at my computer screen, unable to recall why I had opened the document in front of me, that I realized something had to change. I'm not sure what drove me to that small park on the edge of town that day. Nestled between towering skyscrapers and thrumming traffic, it was an unlikely sanctuary. The terrible irony was that I had passed by it countless times before, never once considering to pause and step within. Fate or some unseen hand nudged me toward its gates, a harbinger of a revelation about to unfold. Sinking onto a weathered wooden bench, I allowed myself to really see the park for the first time. The golden leaves, whispering in the fall breeze, the symphony of distant birdsong, the soft ripple of the nearby stream, a harmonious dance of existence that had persisted unnoticed around me. My phone buzzed in my pocket, but I ignored it, insisting that for once, the world would wait for me. It started as a simple experiment. How long could I sit without doing anything but simply being? The first few moments were excruciatingly slow. My thoughts scrambled to fill the silence. Responsibilities, errands, pending tasks. It was as though a great mental dam had burst, but rather than drown in the overwhelming surge, I let them pass. As the minutes ticked by, the tide of thoughts began to recede, leaving in their wake a profound, untouched calm. Stillness had enveloped me, dissolving the discord that once clung to my soul. As days turned into weeks, I made the pilgrimage to that shaded bench with reverent regularity. Remarkably, the solace I discovered began to ripple into all aspects of my life. Choices I once made in haste were now approached with clarity. Conversations carried a depth that had been foreign before. An equilibrium arose from the stillness, balancing my frenzied existence with newfound tranquility. Each time I closed my eyes and syncopated my breath to the silent rhythm of the world, part of me was mending, realigning. One particular afternoon, as the late summer sun dipped into hues of amber and rose, I became aware of a figure seated a few benches away. Their furrowed brow and the nervous tapping of their foot echoed the anxiety once etched into my own demeanor. Our eyes met in an unspoken understanding. I motioned with a slight nod toward the open space of green canvas, an invitation to share in the peace that had so thoroughly transformed my life. For in that moment, I understood that stillness was not just a reprieve, but a shared sanctuary, an ancient remedy potent enough to restore balance in even the most fractured of souls. As twilight deepened, the person approached and sat adjacent to me on the bench, casting a curious glance as if seeking directions to an unknown destination. I smiled, offering no advice but the quiet company of stillness itself. Together in that silent communion, I realized that the serenity I had found was not a culmination but a beginning. The real journey was in sharing this gift, inviting others into the serene enclave of simply being. The tension of our lives could indeed be balanced, one moment of stillness at a time. Chapter 14, Living with Gratitude, the Practice of Gratitude. It all began on a cloudy Tuesday afternoon, the sort of day when the skies, heavy with unspent rain, seem to mirror the weight on your soul. As I sat by the window, nursing a lukewarm cup of tea, my thoughts wandered back to a conversation I had with Sarah, an old college friend, 2 weeks earlier. She had lived through unimaginable loss and yet managed to radiate an aura of unshakable positivity. Gratitude, she said softly, is my lifeline. Her words lingered with me like a melody that refuses to fade. Determined to understand her secret, I began keeping a gratitude journal. It felt awkward at first, jotting down things that went right in my day, however small they seemed. I'm grateful for the warm sunlight, I wrote, hesitating. The next day, I'm thankful for the unexpected call from a friend. My entries were simple, sometimes mundane, but that's where the magic started to unfold. There was a particular incident that cemented my faith in the practice of gratitude. One evening, I found myself stuck in traffic after a grueling day at work. Bumper to bumper, exhaustion blanketing my spirit, I instinctively reached for my journal. I scribbled a line. I'm grateful for this moment of stillness. Initially, it felt like a lie. But then I noticed the vibrant reds and oranges painting the sky as the sun set, noticed people in adjacent cars sharing spontaneous smiles or quiet conversations. In that suspended slice of time, I felt an inexplicable calm wash over me. Days turned into weeks, and this intentional practice began to alter my perspective. I no longer saw delays as annoyances, but as opportunities for reflection. When my plans fell through, I began to focus on the unexpected joys that sprung from spontaneous change. Life, in all its unpredictable glory, became an awe-inspiring journey rather than a rigid itinerary. My relationships flourished as well, as I was more present and genuinely appreciative of the people in my life, recognizing gestures that I had previously overlooked. A significant turning point came during a family gathering. We were celebrating my mother's birthday. Normally, these gatherings were filled with tension and unspoken grievances. But this time, guided by my newly cultivated appreciation, I urged everyone to share something they were grateful for about each other. What ensued was a cascade of heartfelt confessions and unanticipated tears. For the first time in years, walls were dismantled, replaced by bridges of understanding and love. As I look back, I realize that gratitude is not merely an act, but a state of being. It has taught me that abundance is not measured by the external, but by the internal, the overflowing well of appreciation within us. My days are still far from perfect. Challenges continue to test my resilience. However, the lens of gratitude has granted me the superpower to find light even in the darkest corners. My journey is far from over, but I'm no longer rushing toward an imaginary finish line. Instead, I savor each moment, finding beauty in the most unexpected places. And so, as I sit here warmed by the embers of the setting sun, I write in my journal once more, I'm grateful for this, for everything. Cultivating appreciation. There's a soft glow to early mornings, a time when the world feels like it's bathed in potential. I sip my coffee, warm and bitter, holding the mug close for its comforting heat. It's become a ritual of mine, a quiet moment before the bustle begins, where appreciation finds its place. Gratitude, I've always believed, is the cornerstone of a fulfilled life. But it's the act of cultivating appreciation, a more profound and active form of gratitude that carves deeper into the soul, enriching our existence. Imagine this, walking through a dense forest, the air thick with the scent of pine and earth. You notice the vibrant mosaic of life around you, the intricate veins of leaves, the persistent buzzing of unseen insects, the occasional bird song that breaks through the canopy. It's easy to find gratitude in such obvious displays of nature's beauty. But to cultivate appreciation goes beyond these initial observations. It requires you to slow down, to immerse yourself wholly, and understand the interconnectedness of these elements. It means appreciating not just the beauty, but the ecosystem, the life cycles, and the silent, arduous work that sustains this environment. I recall an experience that reshaped my perspective on appreciation. Visiting a friend's elderly grandmother, I found myself sitting on her porch, enveloped by the soft creak of her rocking chair. She shared stories, each word a thread in the rich tapestry of her life. She spoke of hardships, of joys, of moments that seemed insignificant yet, in retrospect, were pivotal. She wasn't just telling stories, she was imparting a legacy of lived experience. Listening to her, I realized appreciation goes deeper than acknowledging someone's presence. It's about valuing their journey, understanding the quintessence of their being. Later, as I walked home under the twilight, the colors blending into a serene night sky, I felt an overwhelming sense of fulfillment. It wasn't just gratitude for the day's events, but a profound appreciation for the very act of being, of living in moments large and small. I began to see that every experience, every interaction, carried an opportunity to cultivate this appreciation. It's a practice, one that requires mindfulness and a deliberate effort to see beyond the surface. One evening, as I sat with my journal, I decided to list not just things I was grateful for, but aspects of them that I genuinely appreciated. I wrote about the laughter shared with friends, appreciating the bonds that laughter had created over years, the shared history that it symbolized. I noted the aroma of freshly baked bread, appreciating the skill and practice, the hands that had kneaded the dough so lovingly. Each entry deepened my understanding and appreciation of my world, transforming how I perceived even the simplest of pleasures. In relationships, this practice has been transformative. With my partner, I started to voice not just my gratitude for their support, but my appreciation for the specific ways they enrich my life, their patience, their thoughtfulness, the way they effortlessly fill our space with warmth. It's in these detailed acknowledgments that true appreciation flourishes, fostering deeper connections. As days turned into weeks, this active appreciation intertwined itself with my daily routine. It's in the early morning light, filtering through the curtains, the rhythm of rain against the window, the shared silence of a companionable evening. It's about recognizing the extraordinary in the ordinary, cherishing the fleeting and the lasting alike. My journey into cultivating appreciation has been an awakening, a continuous unfolding. It's taught me to see with new eyes, to embrace each moment fully. And perhaps it's here, in this attentive presence, that the essence of fulfillment truly resides. When we learn to appreciate actively and deeply, our lives transform, not in their external trappings, but in the profound fulfillment that comes from truly living and appreciating every nuance of our existence. The transformative nature of thankfulness. One brisk autumn day, I found myself wandering along a quiet, tree-lined path. The air was crisp, carrying with it the scent of fallen leaves and the promise of change. My mind was a tempest of worries, each one vying for attention. It was then that I stumbled upon a small bench beneath a canopy of golden leaves. I sat down and exhaled deeply, feeling the weight of my concerns pressing down on my shoulders. Closing my eyes, I allowed the rustling of the leaves to lull me into a calmer state. I began to mentally list the things I was thankful for. At first, it felt contrived, almost forced. However, as I continued, the exercise became more authentic, and I felt an unexpected warmth fill my heart. I realized that though my problems were numerous, so were my blessings. In expressing thankfulness, I began to perceive my challenges differently. My thoughts shifted from a state of lack to one of abundance. I acknowledged the friends who had supported me, the successes I had achieved, and even the small joys that dotted my days, like the taste of my morning coffee or a genuine smile from a stranger. Each item added to my mental list seemed to lighten the load I carried. This newfound perspective had an almost miraculous effect. Opportunities I had previously overlooked began to reveal themselves. Strangers became friends, and mundane moments turned into cherished memories. My connections with others deepened, and I found myself sharing more openly with a heart full of gratitude. One particularly poignant moment stands out. I received a handwritten letter from an old friend with whom I had lost touch. Her words were filled with appreciation for our friendship and the times we had shared. It was a simple gesture, yet it moved me profoundly. I realized that thankfulness had also opened a channel for others to express their gratitude to me, creating a beautiful reciprocal flow of positive energy. The most profound change, however, was within myself. My spirit felt lighter, more resilient. I learned that thankfulness is not merely an act, it's a way of being. It transforms not just our perspective, but our very essence. I began to embody gratitude, radiating it outward to everyone I encountered. As I stood up from that bench, the sun breaking through the canopy, casting a golden glow on the path ahead, I felt a deep sense of peace. The worries that had weighed me down seemed trivial, dissolving in the light of my newfound practice. I walked away, knowing that thankfulness had not just changed my day, it had transformed my life. Chapter 15. Embracing the Way of the Tao in Daily Life. Applying Taoist Principles to Modern Living. In the whirlwind of modern existence, where the cacophony of notifications demands our attention and every moment is meticulously scheduled, the ancient wisdom of Taoism can seem like a forgotten language. Yet, as I sit in my morning meditation, the buzz of the city rising like a distant hum, I find myself enveloped by the profound simplicity that Taoist principles can offer. It's a gentle reminder that, beneath the chaos, there is still a path of harmony and balance waiting to be rediscovered. The core tenet of Taoism, the concept of Wu Wei, or effortless action, speaks to me in particular. In today's context, it might appear counterintuitive amidst our drive to constantly do more and achieve more. But the essence of Wu Wei is about aligning with the natural flow of life, rather than forcing our will upon it. I remember a time when I was embroiled in a high-stakes project at work. Every forced effort seemed to push success further away until I decided to step back and let things unfold naturally. It felt almost magical how solutions appeared effortlessly, as if they had been there all along, waiting for me to notice. Another Taoist principle that has deeply influenced my life is the practice of Pu, or the concept of the uncarved block. It's a metaphor for a state of simplicity and potential, untainted by excessive complexity and ego. When I first embraced this concept, it revolutionized my approach to everyday tasks. I learned to declutter not just my physical space, but also my mind. The simplicity allowed creativity and potential to blossom in ways that I never thought possible, transforming my responsibilities from burdens into acts of mindful engagement. Connecting with nature is another way Taoist teachings find a foothold in modern living. The principle of Ziran emphasizes naturalness and spontaneity. In our tech-driven age, it's easy to forget the grounding power of nature. I make it a habit to escape the urban sprawl for a quiet walk in the park, allowing the rhythm of nature to resonate within me. This practice is not just a retreat, but a powerful reconnection with the source of life itself, reminding me of a fundamental truth, that we too are a part of this magnificent, spontaneous order. As I look out, seeing the hurried faces on the streets, I am reminded of Lao Tzu's words, "Nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished." These words offer profound guidance in managing the stress and demands of contemporary life. They whisper a secret that is easy to overlook, that there is immense power in patience and trust in life's unfolding. Perhaps modern living and ancient wisdom are not worlds apart, but rather interwoven, waiting for us to see the timeless truths that speak through the ages. Embracing these principles has not only eased my path, but also made my journey infinitely richer and more meaningful. Finding harmony in a fast-paced world. The day often begins with a cacophony of alarms, notifications, and urgent emails, a digital symphony that rarely harmonizes with our inner rhythms. I used to be a slave to this relentless tide, surfacing just long enough to gasp for air before submerging once again into the harsh currents of fast-paced modernity. It wasn't until a moment of unexpected tranquility that I began to question if there was a better way to live. I remember clearly the day I discovered stillness. I had ventured to a secluded spot, a local park hidden from the urban frenzy. With each step I took deeper into the greenery, the noises of the city dulled into a distant hum. I found a bench under an old weeping willow, its branches swaying gently in the breeze, and I sat there, willing myself to do nothing more than observe. Leaves rustled, a distant bird sang, and for the first time in years, I felt my pulse slow to a gentle, reassuring rhythm. This was harmony, something I realized I could incorporate into my daily life. Meditation became my anchor. Each morning, I allocate just 15 minutes to sitting quietly, focusing on my breath. In those minutes, I am not a frenetic worker or frazzled friend. I am simply me, centering myself in the here and now. The effects are palpable. I notice that the troubles and stressors of the day roll off me like water off a duck's back, unable to penetrate the shield I have crafted through consistent practice. Another strategy I adopted was digital minimalism. I started by setting specific times for checking emails and social media, reducing the constant barrage of information that once dictated my day. It's astonishing how liberating it feels to reclaim my autonomy from incessant notifications. By curating my digital consumption, I've created mental space to focus on what truly matters: relationships, personal growth, and creativity. However, balance is not solely an inward journey. It is also found in our relationship with the physical world. Integrating simple, mindful activities into my routine has been transformative. I take walks without a destination, cook meals from scratch, and even dedicate time to mundane chores like watering plants. These acts, though seemingly trivial, ground me. They are a physical affirmation of my existence, a tangible contrast to the abstract whirlwind of the digital age. As I weave these practices into the fabric of my life, I often find myself standing at a crossroads. Should I revert to the frenetic pace, the familiar chaos, or continue down this path of intentionality and mindfulness? The temptation is always there, lurking, urging me to plunge back into the relentless undertow. But each time, I choose harmony. Because in this balance, I've discovered a profound and fulfilling peace, a resilience that shelters me from the maelstrom. And thus, the question remains, not just for me, but for all of us treading this shaky ground: can we find our own oasis of calm amidst the storm? The journey is ongoing, and the answers ever-evolving. Yet every incremental step we take towards mindfulness and intentionality builds a collective resilience against the frenetic clamoring of our times. This harmony, fragile and elusive as it might be, is within our grasp. It's the counter-melody to the world's harsh symphony, a song of serenity that beckons us all. The power of ancient wisdom in today's world. The day began like any other, yet something felt different. As the sun edged over the horizon, casting its golden hues across the landscape, I felt drawn to a particular book that had been gathering dust on my shelf for years. It was an ancient tome, its leather cover worn, but its knowledge timeless. The title, Elder's Echoes, hinted at centuries of wisdom. A tingling sensation crept through me as I reached for it. Flipping through the pages delicately, as if afraid to disturb the past, I found myself immersed in teachings that felt both foreign and familiar. It was as if the ancients themselves whispered into my ear, guiding me through the complexities of modern life. Their profound insights on balance, mindfulness, and harmony seemed to hold airs we desperately need today. The elders spoke of a time when humanity lived in synchrony with nature, when decisions were made with both heart and mind. One passage particularly caught my eye. In every moment of crisis lies an opportunity for wisdom. The words resonated deeply, echoing through the chambers of my mind. It was true, the frenetic pace of our world often blinds us to the serene truths that ancient wisdom offers. I closed the book, pondering how I could integrate these principles into my chaotic, technology-driven life. Later that evening, while attending a bustling corporate meeting, I felt a distinct shift in my perspective. Instead of engaging in the usual competitive sparring, I opted for a more mindful approach. I remembered the teachings on active listening and empathetic communication. The atmosphere in the room transformed. Conversations became more enriched, the exchange of ideas more genuine. But it was not just in professional realms that these teachings took root. At home, the pressures of daily life often overshadowed the simple joys. Applying the ancient practices, I began to involve my family in nightly meditations, fostering a sense of unity and peace. My children, who were initially reluctant, soon began to look forward to these sessions, their behavior reflecting the calm and focus they experienced. Days turned into weeks, and the impact of incorporating ancient wisdom into my life became unmistakable. I felt a profound connection to something greater than myself, a sense of purpose that had eluded me for years. The teachings of the ancients were not just relics of the past. They were living, breathing practices that could transform the present. As I walked along the shore one evening, the waves whispering their eternal secrets, I realized how far this journey had taken me. Yet I felt as though I was on the brink of a deeper understanding. With every step, the horizon seemed closer, yet infinitely vast. The ancient wisdom had opened doors within me, but there were more mysteries to uncover, more lessons to learn. The path ahead was both daunting and exhilarating. Could I, and the world around me, truly embody the profound teachings of the past? The answer, I felt, was just beyond the next sunrise. As we conclude our journey through the hidden wisdom of the Tao, ancient secrets for modern living, we hope you have found inspiration and practical insights to enrich your life. By embracing the teachings of the Tao, you can cultivate a deeper sense of balance, inner peace, and connection with the world around you. The timeless wisdom of the Tao offers a gentle yet powerful guide to navigating the complexities of modern life. Whether it's through practicing mindfulness, embracing change, or nurturing compassion, the principles of the Tao can transform your daily experiences and help you live more harmoniously. Remember, the journey of understanding and living the Tao is a lifelong path. Continue to explore, reflect, and integrate these teachings into your life, and allow the ancient wisdom to illuminate your way. Thank you for joining us in this exploration of the Tao. We invite you to revisit these teachings often and share the wisdom with others. May you continue to grow, find peace, and live in harmony with the Tao. For more enlightening content and to stay updated on our latest releases, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and visit our Ko-fi shop. You can also purchase the book in PDF format.